welcome to this episode of Wi-Fi Friends. I am Cameron Morris. I forgot my name then, and I'm joined by the lovely, the amazing Chloe Johnsick.
Hi.
And of course, her dad is here to supervise.
Yes, I don't do a very good impression of my daughter.
No. I wonder if she does an impression of you though.
She does. She started doing this thing, where she calls her mom mommy. You know, she calls me Tan,
Yeah. I heard about
but
this.
she doesn't just say, "Oh, hey, Tan." She goes, "Hi, mommy," and then she looks at me and goes, "Hi, Tan."
I love it.
Oh, mean.
I love it. We talked about this when you came down, and ever since I've just had this this image of Chloe just being the sass queen. She's
Yes,
just like
she
the
is.
sassiest person of all time.
Which, I mean, if you've met my wife, then you kind of get where she got it from.
Yeah, I feel like with a mix of your hyperbole and your wife's sass, it's like you've created an indestructible monster of
She's a dangerous creature.
yeah, a verbal lasher. I don't know. I'm very tired. If you can't tell, over this side of the water, I guess you'd call it.
I was gonna say the equator, but I think that's
No,
wrong.
that's the other way. That's the
Yeah,
You're going a bit too horizontal. You got to think vertically.
yeah.
Yeah, over this side of the pond, it's quite late, and usually it's late anyway. But I'm just feeling the toll today. But I really wanted to talk to my good friend John. I wanted to get some podcasting done. But maybe it won't be a tremendously long episode like usual. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how everything goes. How are you doing, John? How are you doing today? What are you up to?
I'm good. It's been like a weird, normal adulting kind of day, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
I've got 2 more weddings I'm going to this year, and they are the same week as each other.
Oh my God, that's mad. That's manic.
So today was like all getting plane tickets and all that stuff. It's been very exciting.
That's crazy. I mean, jeez, I to travel this soon after you just traveled must be a bit hectic.
Yeah, and they're in different areas, and then also we kind of added in a third trip in there that probably didn't need to be there, so that's kind of our fault.
Where else are you going? Is there a tiny house somewhere that needs to be
So,
visited?
oh God, probably. But so I'm going to a wedding in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Christina and Chloe are going to Seattle to visit her brother
Oh,
and his
awesome.
wife.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the wedding in Louisville because they didn't have like a large guest list for this wedding, so I was the only one who was invited to
I
this
see.
one. So then I go to the wedding, then I go to Seattle
Okay.
and meet up with them, and then we go to Iowa
Okay.
to go to the second wedding that all of us are invited to, and then we go back home.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Now explain to me. Seattle is a city
In Washington, yes.
in Washington, the state, not
Yeah.
the city.
Not the city.
And it's so okay. So it's in Washington, and then there's Ohio, Washington, and then where was the third place? Where was the third
So
wedding?
it's Kentucky, Washington, Iowa.
Okay, so and they're all three of them are different states, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my Christ, Jonathan. Oh my God. All right. Well, good freaking luck to you then, friend. But
And it's Chloe's first ever plane flight.
oh no. Oh no. Oh God. So how's the prep been going? I'm sure it's going to go better than the flight.
They're shorter flights, so that's
Okay.
good.
Okay.
It'll be interesting. She's got her own little suitcase and her own little neck pillow and her own headphones and an activity book. So hopefully she should be pretty good.
That's the thing. It has the potential to be like really nice, like this really magical, nice experience where she's like excited the whole time and she's like enjoying the adventure, but it probably has just as much the chance of being a nightmare. So you kind of
Or
like,
she's in pain the entire time from the altitude changes and her ears popping and like
yeah.
all that nonsense. So it could go like disaster or really well.
Well, I'm praying for you, friend. I'm not particularly religious anymore, but I'm still praying for you. I'm using what religion I have left to pray for you. I swear. Um, I mean, today's been a pretty packed day, but not like important packed. So I managed to squeeze all this important stuff I had to do, um, today into like the morning. So like I had like a meeting to do with this film that I'm making, with another friend of mine who's very talented producer, and she's asked me to come on board. So we've been meeting a couple of times because of the wedding and stuff. I haven't met with her for a while, so we had to do this big
Yeah.
catch up meeting where we talked about everything that she's worked on since I've been away having fun. So that was good. It was productive, but it's also like, it's like fun in the way that you're like, oh yeah, we're making a film, this is cool, but it's also like strenuous and stressful because you're just like, working out logistics and trying to figure out what can and can't be done. And then it was just a bunch of stuff I had to, chores, like just meaningless stuff. Just pick up this stuff, but I managed to
Yeah.
front load it all into like the morning. So it was done by 12. So
Ooh,
at
nice.
like I can run home to be back by 1 o'clock, so I can get through more Avengers movies.
So how far have you got?
So, Iron Man was the first one we watched that Sunday, and then today, me, Reese Peak, my brother, and my good friend who also happens to be my sister's boyfriend, Sean. I always hate saying my sister's boyfriend because it sounds like it's like a detached relationship. Like I don't like him, I just tolerate him. But my friend Sean, who happens to be my sister's boyfriend, and that's how I met him. We sat down and we watched. We watched The Incredible Hulk, which obviously came out just after Iron Man. Then we watched Iron Man 2, and we watched Thor 1. All in one sitting. And it was this really interesting thing where it was like, we were enjoying the movies individually, but as it went on, we started to feel the fatigue of just looking at a screen for that many hours in a row. It was like
Yeah.
a little bit over 6 hours. So it was just like, geez, man. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. It's interesting because I'm not going to talk about it in my current fave, because I'm not sure it's like the favorite thing I'm watching right now. But so I thought I'll talk about it here because I haven't really been up to much else, other than just working. I'm quite enjoying watching through that. It is really impressive. You got to give it to Paul Feig, and the makers of those individual movies as well, like Jon Favreau and Kenneth Branagh and stuff, because they really did, like, even before they knew how popular Marvel was going to be, they started sowing seeds like really, really early. Like those early movies, you'd expect them to have less references and less like little setup things because they didn't know what they were doing. But there is like genuinely things in those movies that pay off like ages and ages down the line. Like there's in Thor 1, I don't know if you remember, there's a bit where he storms the shield base that is around the hammer.
Oh yeah, where you meet Hawkeye for the first time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, which is like, that's what I think about when I think of that scene. I think about the Hawkeye bit, and I also think about him, like, that really cool scene where he tries to pull the hammer up and it doesn't work, and he realizes that he's not worthy anymore. But what I missed is that there's a Shield agent who's just he hasn't got any lines really. I mean, other than just like, oh god, he's like breaking through or call security. He's just got generic lines. He's not like a main character of Thor. He's just a Shield agent who's on one of the computers. And I didn't realize that he ends up being the one that Falcon and Cap like interrogate because he's part of Hydra in Winter Soldier. They're like on the roof with him, and they're
Oh,
like, tell us what's going on in Shield, and then he's like, oh, okay, I admit it, I'm part of Hydra, and blah 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 blah. And it's like really cool that guy is like he's in the background of Thor 1, and he ends up being like this major, well, not major, but this character that is a big player in Winter Soldier. And again, like the guy who in Iron Man 2, who's like telling him to turn the suit over to the government, he's also in Winter Soldier because he's the one that
yeah, he
whispers.
does the Hydra thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hail
yeah,
Hydra.
yeah, yeah. And it's just cool, dude.
Like
It's cool
it's
that they from the beginning they knew what they were doing. They were like, we are confident in our ideas. We know where we're going with this. Let's just get the ball running.
well, it's crazy to think that, not to be hyperbolic, but one of the greatest cinematic achievements in history happened because Marvel almost went bankrupt and had to sell all their good characters away.
Yeah. Yeah, and they managed to, because of they sold them all away. What came of that allowed them to buy them all back as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. Just the 18 movies of the Marvel, the idea that cinematic universe was not really, that wasn't a phrase
No,
until
yeah.
Marvel.
It had been done like a couple times, but it was always this novelty, this gimmick that I.
Yeah, movies have always had sequels, but it wasn't like,
Sorry, carry on.
I was gonna say, it wasn't like this idea of like a living, breathing, expanding thing. It was always just like, oh, well, all right, there's three X-Men movies, there's three Spider-Man movies, but we didn't see that as a universe. You know, it was just sequels. It was just like, you know, movies.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know. It's cool because they have been attempts, really, but they haven't really been as thought out. I mean, like if you look at the Viewer Skew universe or Kevin Smith's universe, like he has this kind of through line between his early movies that culminate in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is kind of like his love letter to all the films he made, where he brings back all the characters from his original movies. But it almost is treated like a gimmick in those movies. It's treated like a fun, like, oh, look, it's that guy from the other movie I made. Or, oh, look at this, it's the dude from... Whereas in Marvel, it was the first time I've seen it, and maybe people can point out another example that just wasn't as popular. It's the first time I've seen it where, from the get-go, it wasn't this, oh, it would be cool if we put, you know, so-and-so in here. It would be cool if we put this in. Maybe later we can, like, pick up on it. They were so confident that there's a scene at the end of Iron Man, like at the end of the credits, where Nick Fury literally shows up and talks about the Avengers. Like the very first movie they put out, he goes, "This is what our plan is, Avengers." And it's not just like this is what Nick Fury's plan is, but it's like in that regard they were being like, you know, Marvel Studios was using Nick Fury to be like, "This is what our plan is as a studio. You know, we want to get to the Avengers."
Well, and that's the interesting thing is looking back, is because technically, because like the Nick Fury scene was added like late in production from like the movie. I think once they realized that this is maybe something they were doing, but then Kevin Feige also didn't come on as like, you know, the man until like, I want to say Avengers.
Really?
Yeah. Because in the beginning, like, because Disney didn't own Marvel when Iron Man came out. Because that was like 2008.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Wait, not two. Was it 2000? No.
I don't know.
No, wait, yeah. I think it was like 2008, 2009.
I know Iron Man came out in 2008. I don't know when the buyout was.
But I know the buyout wasn't 2008. Like, I'm 90% sure that came a couple of years later.
Okay.
But yeah, I was watching, his Kind of Funny was doing what they call the MCU in review, where they were watching one Marvel movie every week and doing like historical context and like reviewing it. And they talked about it, which is where I got it from. But that was so long ago because that was like the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Because Infinity War is out in like 2 weeks or 1 week or something.
It's
Jeez.
2 weeks and 2 days.
I'm gonna have to blow my brains out because I have not pre-bought any tickets or anything.
Oh,
and I don't know when we're seeing it.
No, dude. I booked my tickets in advance, in way advance. I actually like I booked my tickets and I told my friends, I was like, you guys book your tickets, because last time I tried to do it for Last Jedi. I was like, okay, we're gonna, you know, for Last Jedi we're all gonna book tickets, and I was like, I'll book them all and then you guys can pay me back as soon as I've booked them. And obviously it was like weeks and weeks later I was still waiting for people to pay me back. So now it's just like, you can book your own tickets. I'm going to tell you where to sit in. I booked me and Jen's tickets, and then, you know, if anyone else shows up, that'll be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, it's just insane thinking back into the, like, not to get too historical Marvel here, but back in 2008, that was like the beginning of Matt Fraction's Iron Man run.
Really?
if I remember correctly, that was when like the Five Nightmares, like the first story arc kind of happened was when the movie was coming out.
Oh, okay.
Either that or it was had already started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I remember being like, I know nothing about Iron Man. Like, who is this guy? And then being like, oh, Matt Fraction's Iron Man. Like, I've heard good things about that. That was like back when I think that was back when like old YouTube, like I'd be like, oh, I think Logan or Eric or whoever you would talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, Dev. I know Eric was a big, big Iron Man fan around about that time
Yeah,
because he put out a lot of videos about. I love that we talk about Eric like people just know, like they're such big stars to us, but they're not huge in the terms of the YouTube world, you know. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think it really surprised me, like the universe building. But yeah, I'm really enjoying watching them, even the ones that I think. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really got to any that I didn't like. I always had this perception that Iron Man 2 was kind of a dud because everyone always talks about how like, oh, Iron Man 2, that was the one, that was the first like bad one or whatever. But like, I don't know. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it doesn't make
yeah,
it bad. Like the first one, the only difference between the first one and the second one to me was that the first one really had this dramatic quality about it. It felt like it was making a political statement and there was this drama throughout. Whereas the second one is a little less dramatic. It's a little less politically charged. It's just a superhero adventure without
yeah.
all the baggage. Like Tony still learns stuff in the second one, but it's not as like I said, dramatic. It's not like in the first one where he has to learn that like what he's doing is essentially like feeding the enemy. Whereas
Well,
in
that's the interesting thing is like even the movies that are like bad, like I mean the Thor movies have not historically been great.
okay,
They all have aspects of them that are still like good and savable. I mean, like I'm into Sam Rockwell's hilarious
oh, he's so
in that
good.
movie,
He's so good.
and Don Cheadle is great. I love his roadie. What was it like going back and watching Terrence Howard as roadie?
It
'Cause that
was
was
so
weird.
sad. It was so sad, dude. It made me really sad. And there's a line in the movie, and I know everyone has made the joke a million times, but I can't help it. It is the saddest line in any Marvel movie ever. It's sadder than like that scene in Civil War when Tony is like, you're not my friend anymore to Steve. It is when Terrence Howard as Rhodey walks up to the silver Iron Man suit and he looks at it and he goes, "Next time, baby." It's never a next time.
Never a next time.
It's the saddest thing. And then there's the scene right at the beginning of Iron Man 2 where Don Cheadle walks into the courtroom. It's the first time you see him in the movie, and they go, "Lieutenant Cody Rhodes," and he walks up.
Cody
Not
Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes. Oops. Lieutenant James Rhodes, not the wrestler.
Yeah.
They go, "Lieutenant James Rhodes," and he walks. You see the back of him, and then Tony Stark walks up to him, and he sees him, and he goes, "I didn't know you were going to be here." And it cuts, and you see Don Cheadle's face, and John Cheadle as Rhodes just goes, "Listen, I'm here. Let's move past it. Let's get on with it." And it's like a really
Yeah.
nice reference to the fact that like he just is completely different. But yeah, it was there is good, and I want to pick up what you said about Thor because, interestingly enough, Thor has always been one of my favorite Marvel films. The first Thor, because when I watched it, I mean, when I watched all these films, these Phase One films, it was just like everything was amazing. Like you were young enough
Yeah.
that like it was just you were young enough, and that there weren't that many superhero movies at the time either. So everything we got was just like, oh, it's fantastic, it's amazing.
Oh yeah. Green
Um,
Lantern.
Yeah, dude, Green Lantern is a great example of that. It's the only DC movie that we had except for the Batman movies. so, I'm watching them again, and I'm really realizing why the certain ones were my favorite, and the things that I ignore, and the things that I was able to maybe not even forgive, just didn't even realize. And Thor was an interesting example because I've always said, I've said for a while that it's one of my favorite Marvel movies, and rewatching it, it still is, but it's like all of a sudden I'm seeing why everyone else disagrees.
Yeah, it's like that glass shatter moment.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like it anymore. It's that I'm just realizing where everyone else's problems come from, because all the stuff I love about Thor, I still loved about Thor. Like watching it
Yeah.
again, every time one of those things would come along that I would be like, oh shit, that's an amazing scene in Thor. It would be just as amazing. It would just give me the same feelings. But there were scenes where I just did not remember them. Just they completely disappeared from my brain. And I feel like it doesn't ruin the movie for me because I enjoyed those scenes I liked just as much. But it just goes,
Yeah.
oh, I understand now. I get where people are coming from with this movie. Like, there are bits in the movie where the tone just feels like a different movie. And the problem is I love the movie that there were two tones to the movie almost. It felt like it was playing in two different octaves. And the first octave is is best described by the scene where Thor gets banished, where he's like, Father, I would have taken them all. Why did you pull me off? And he's like, you are unworthy. You're unworthy of this hammer. You're unworthy of all the people that love you and you claim to protect. And he's like, you're unworthy. And then Loki tries to like interrupt, and he doesn't even say any words. He just goes, like,
God, Anthony Hopkins, by the way, in the Thor movies, just wonderful man.
He's
like
great.
Splendid. I've always loved him, but like I feel like in that movie, literally he just started going rambling, and
Yes.
Kenneth Branagh was just like, "It's good, We're gonna take it. We're
No.
gonna all right."
Definitely.
Good. All right.
Definitely. I think Kenneth Branagh, and he is the reason I think all those scenes are so good. He really brings this Shakespearean element to
Yes.
Thor, which is absent in every other Thor movie and movie that Thor is in. There has never been that kind of tone to it, which is why I love the first one so much. But the problem is those scenes really do exist, and they exist through the whole movie. It's pretty much everything that's in Asgard has those really, really nice moments where you see the goofy costumes, you see the crazy CG, but it just works because the actors are really committing, and Branagh gets them to... It almost feels like all of Anthony Hopkins' scenes, he feels like he's in a Lord of the Rings movie. It feels like he's like, I know I look goofy, but this could turn out to be the next Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to give it my all. You know, I'm not going to, phone it in because I'm in a goofy superhero movie. I'm actually going to give it. And also, Tom Hiddleston, oh my God. Like, I think of him as the comedic relief now because of Thor Ragnarok and because of Avengers, like where he gets smashed around by Hulk and stuff. But going back and watching this movie, he breaks your heart. Like, he's so good. He's such a good villain. The bit where he's like, he realizes he's a frost giant and he's like screaming at his dad. But then Odin starts like having essentially the god version of a heart attack, and he goes into the Odin sleep. Like, all that anger fades away, and he's just sad again, and he just wants to help his dad. He's just looking at his dad, and he's like, oh, damn, what have I done? And he's calling for the gods. But he still sees it as an opportunity. It's like this really nice conflicted character who's like,
Well, and what I love is, have you gotten to Thor 2 yet?
No, we literally, the last thing we watched was Thor 1. That was the last one we got through.
I would argue, like, get to all three Thor movies. Because, it's interesting you saying that you think the Shakespeare kind of goes away. Get to Thor 2, because it has some really great stuff, and Loki still breaks your heart. Thor 2 is one of those movies that is like Iron Man 2, leans a lot into, like, the comedy and the weird stuff, but I think has really standout moments with the Asgard stuff, which is interesting, because you'd think Asgard would be the boring stuff in these movies, but I think Asgard is the best stuff in these movies.
I did kind of forget.
And then I think...
Sorry.
Words are hard. Ragnarok is like a Shakespeare comedy.
Yeah.
It very much is kind of like kind of like a comedy of errors, because it's all these characters, but then you still have like the dramatic Shakespeare of like Hela and that whole like story, and with the family dynamics and stuff. So I think it still does kind of lean into that stuff.
Yeah, you are right. There is still that
not
element
as hard
to it.
Obviously.
I think what really sets it apart, because there is one of my favorite scenes in all of Marvel is in Thor 2, and it's the moment where Loki seems like he's got it together. So that he goes down and someone's talking to him. I think it's Thor, and Loki looks like he's got it together, even though his mum has just died and he loved his mum. But
Oh
then
yeah.
Thor says something, and he says like you can stop the facade now, and all of a sudden the image fades away because it's all magic, and you see Loki sitting in the corner of the room, and he's just sad, and his hair is all down, and he's just
Well,
like,
and the whole room's like destroyed,
yeah,
like all the stuff is, oh my God.
it's so good because it's like he's still trying his best to put out that image that he's like regal and that he's like
Yeah.
he's powerful, but just
I think
inside.
honestly, my least favorite part about the Thor series is Natalie Portman.
Her character, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
they just it's just so weird. And I also did felt like she was just phoning it like
Mm.
she was not bringing like Natalie Portman, which could be like that's a weird sentence now. But it could be like a combination of like maybe what they gave her character or whatever. But it just every scene she was in, it was like it felt like she just rolled out of her trailer. It was like, oh yeah, Thor, totes, I love you. Oh my God, you got abs. All right, bye.
Yeah, it was like the opposite of what I was saying with Anthony Hopkins and Tom Hiddleston. Like they were in silly costumes on a green screen, and they were acting at their peak. They were really giving it all. You see the passion, like you believe that they are these like this torn apart family. And then you get to Natalie Portman, who doesn't have to be on a green screen. She doesn't have to be in a silly costume, but she's doing like these weird choices. Like there's a bit where Thor turns into Thor, where he finally gets his hammer back, and it cuts to Natalie Portman, who's like in the background watching, and she goes, "Wow!" It's like that's not what you would say.
Wow.
It's just like it is like she is almost like not treating the film with the respect because it's a superhero movie, even though she doesn't even have to do all the silly stuff. Like she doesn't have
Yeah.
to. It isn't until the second movie she even goes to Asgard. So like I didn't know, but for me, Thor, those moments though were so good. Like especially I keep mentioning scenes now, but like the bit where Loki's hanging, and Thor is like holding onto the scepter, and Loki's holding onto it, and they're trying to convince him to come up, and Odin catches them both. And and Loki looks up and he repeats the line that Thor had at the beginning of the movie, where he goes, "Father, I could have done it. I could have done it for you. I could have saved us." And then he's like, "No, Loki, no, you made a mistake." And then Loki's just like, "Oh well, fuck you then," and he leaves go. It's just like
Yeah.
such a good like Thor spends the whole movie learning this lesson that then Loki makes at the end of the movie to show he's learned nothing. Like between the two of
Yeah.
them, he's the one who hasn't learned anything, and it's such a good story that is just kind of tainted by all this weird Earth stuff. I do like the Earth stuff sometimes. I like the shield bit where he breaks in and he can't pick up the hammer. I like the concept of him having no power. But it's just, I
Yeah.
think those characters
I think the
that follow him
Destroyer
around.
stuff really is the weakest stuff of the movie
Mm,
because he needed something to fight, but the CG on the Destroyer doesn't look amazing.
it's okay. Looking back, it's not terrible. But again, it's
Yeah.
just this faceless thing. Like,
Yeah, it's a very hollow enemy. Literally.
yeah. And he's got some cool moments because Thor basically treats it like it's Loki. Like he talks to it like it's Loki because Loki can
Yeah.
hear and everything. Which is a cool
My
idea.
favorite, I was gonna say my favorite line in the movie, which has nothing to do with that scene actually. But going back to Odin, because Anthony Hopkins is great
Yeah.
when he's like, "You're not king yet." Like,
It's so good,
like
dude.
there's so much vitriol in that line.
It's this, right? Because I hate to correct you, but I literally just watched it today. I wouldn't be able to correct you if it wasn't, because it's such a good line and the way he delivers it is so good. Because he goes because Thor's like arguing that we should go to the ice world and kill them all and stuff, and he goes, "But I'm king," and he goes, "But you're not king." Not yet. And it's like,
God.
whoa.
Oh, it's so good.
He's just great. He's just such a good. Of all the Welsh actors, he's probably the one I'm most proud of. Like he's so good.
Yeah.
I have to take a second for the audience. I'll cut it out so they won't realize. But John, I'm gonna have to go for a second because my lovely wife is asking me to quickly come into the bedroom because she can't be asked to get up and turn the light off. So I gotta go in and turn the light off. I will be right back.
I will be. Oh no! Don't drop the water on the ground. Ah. Oh no! Oh, let me get a towel. Let me get a towel. Oh my God! Dropped some water on the floor. I got a towel. I got a towel. I'm gonna go dry up this. Oh, don't send it in the water, please. No, honey. Come on. All right, let's dry it up. Dry it clean. Dry it up. Yeah. Dry up that water.
We're back.
Oh, yes. I was filling the silence
Oh, really?
because my daughter spilled some water on the ground.
Is it anything
There's
you
a
can
song and
use?
everything.
Shall I cut it out or shall I use it? Because I
I
don't
don't
mind
know. It's
using it.
kind of funny. Yeah, I'll have you listen to it and you can make the decision.
All right, sounds good. Sorry about that. I feel like for the first little bit of this podcast, I've been on a bit of a weird headspace. I'm feeling better now. I took my shirt off, not my shirt, my jacket off. I took my shirt off. I'm feeling sexy. No,
Yeah, feel good.
but it's weird. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
where I am with
so
Marvel movies. I'm feeling excited. The main reason I'm doing it, honestly, and we talked about this on previous podcasts, is because I was not feeling hyped enough for Infinity
yeah,
War. And people might go, "Oh, that's a blessing. You don't want to overhype it." But I enjoy part of movies. Part of loving movies for me personally is the build up. It's the excitement. It's the build up. Like I was disappointed by Last Jedi, but I wouldn't take back the build up. The build up was really exciting. It was really enjoyable. Like all the little theories everyone was going. And I want to get like that with Infinity War. I want to be excited. I want to be, hyped. And the more I watch these movies, the more I really do. Incredible Hulk, I just want to quickly mention, because a lot of people forget that movie. It is a very, very good movie. And it's not funny at all. It's really not a funny movie in the slightest. There is maybe 2 gags in the whole movie. And they're kind of like integrated. It's like the characters being funny as opposed to like just a funny quip that didn't belong. Incredible Hulk I just really enjoyed it. It was a really well-made action movie. It was just like from start to finish, it wouldn't stop. There were not many scenes where you're just like bored. There were 1 or 2 where like people were talking about something that's like, yeah, okay, we know. Like, reason I were making fun of this in movies where they always do this, where a character will say something that implies an idea, and you go, "Ooh, that was cool. That was deep cuts," and then they'll just explain it. So it's like, well, if you were going to explain it, why did you do such a cool way of bringing it up? And like Betty Ross and Bruce Banner are in a hotel room, and they're like, they need money because they can't use credit cards. They're on the run, and she brings out a necklace and she's like, "We could sell this," and he goes, "No, it's the only thing you have of hers." And you go, "Oh, that's cool, okay, because it must be her mum's and stuff, and that's sentimental." And then he goes, "Your mum. You've only got. This is the only thing you've got left of your mum." And you're like, "Oh, come
your
on,
mom,
dude."
she died. She left you that necklace there that
It's like
after she died,
it's like why,
and she's
dude?
dead.
Exactly. Like that's all I wanted to mention. I really enjoyed the Incredible Hulk though, and there are scenes in Incredible Hulk. Majoritively, the CG is not as good as it is now, but there are scenes where I think his face is a lot more interesting. It's a lot more
Yeah,
detailed and kind of scarier. Whereas Hulk in Ragnarok, which is the most recent Hulk, I think, I love him. He's great. He's got such a comedic presence, but he kind of just looks soft. He looks like a nice
yeah.
soft dough ball as opposed
That
to
sucked, boy.
he does in like in the Incredible Hulk. He's kind of scary, and you kind of buy that all these people will be terrified of him.
Oh, that cave scene is.
Oh, so good.
I love that scene.
Yeah, but again, that's I think the only gag in the movie is when he stands up and he hits his head, and then
Yeah,
and then there's another bit that would have been a gag if it was like another Marvel movie, but they really kept it serious, where the lightning starts striking, and Hulk gets scared and starts throwing things at the sky because he's like
yeah.
terrified of lightning, which is like such an easy joke to make, but they don't play it for laughs. They play it for like, this guy is just a giant kid, like he doesn't understand anything that's happening, and there's lightning is striking, he just throws rocks at the sky because he just doesn't know how to deal with it. Which I really appreciated. I'm going to move on now because I feel like I've just talked about this for too long. John, do you have a current favorite?
So, not necessarily. There's nothing really like. I started rewatching My Hero Academia with Christina.
Yes.
We're just now to the start of the entrance exams.
Oh, so that's
Like 4 episodes in, I think.
yes. So there's the entrance exams, which is wait.
When he first uses the power for the first time.
Oh, okay. So that's like episode 4, yeah, where like they
Yeah,
all turn up at the gate, and it's like, oh, it's like a video game. There are robots, and the more amount of robots you beat, you get more points and stuff. Okay,
yeah,
I see what you're
exactly.
saying.
So we're just there. Um, she's been getting into it, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
Um, beginning kind of interested, and she's been like asking certain questions, and I'm like, just wait, just hold on, it's, you know. But the pacing is really weird because I thought that the scene where he does the whole beach like training,
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was in the middle of an episode. No, it's the entire episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like, I can't wait till. I just can't wait till you get to one certain part because it is up to like it gave me that Superman Dark Side feels from Justice League Unlimited.
Oh.
It gave me those feels. And it's in season one. So I
Okay.
just can't wait for that one because that's going to be really good. But and then Your Name, which I made a video about on the
Yes.
channel.
Yeah, yeah,
I still am in love with that movie. I want to watch it just over and over again, at least 2 more times, I think,
yeah. I'm excited to watch
because
it.
I'm just in love with it.
I've heard nothing but good things from everyone, including yourself. I'm very excited to watch it. I love romances. I love romance in anime. I love it in Western. I love it in movies and TV shows. I just love romance, and I think even done wrong, I can enjoy it. So to
Yeah,
hear this is such a good example of it and a good romance. I'm excited.
yeah.
Can I ask
Which
you?
is a good. Oh, yeah. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
can I ask you a question? Have you seen a movie called A Silent Voice?
So Jack Thomas talked about this.
Okay.
Me and Christina, after Your Name, I was like, hey, JT talked about A Silent Voice, and we
Yes.
watched the trailer for it, and we're like, oh my god, we're gonna cry like babies, but we need to see it. It is not available for U.S.
Oh, wow,
residents.
really?
It is only for some reason like on UK servers and stuff. So unless we like finick with some stuff, we can't like Amazon. Nothing will let us watch it.
Okay.
Google,
Okay. All
yeah,
right. Okay, that just solves it because I've not seen that movie yet, but I'm apparently supposed to watch it. It's supposed to be amazing, and Jack Thomas says that I love it as well as Your Name. However, he said that you'd seen it, and I was like, I don't think you'd seen. I feel like you would have mentioned that if you'd seen both of them. But maybe in your Snapchat you mentioned you were going to watch Your Name or something. You
yeah.
were going to watch A Silent Voice or something. And you didn't
And
end
then
up
we
watching
found
it.
out that we couldn't. It
Yeah,
was not on any sort of platform to buy or rent. I'm like, I want to give you my money. I
yeah.
want to give it to you. Just let me.
Interesting. It's not on Crunchyroll. Like,
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know, but I'm sure it'll come out eventually.
yeah.
Apparently, it's been doing pretty well. Now, le- have you been watching anything that you haven't made a video on, or enjoying anything? Like you mentioned My Hero.
Yeah. We caught all the way up on Series of Unfortunate Events. Um,
Are you serious?
yes.
Oh, I didn't even know you guys watched that. Okay, okay,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
I need to calm down. Okay, because that was going to be my current fave. Have you caught all the way up? Are you finished?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
all the way. Yeah, finished.
okay. Don't listen to this podcast if you care about spoilers, because I'm going to talk about this show.
I mean, if you didn't read the books from however long ago.
I haven't read the books.
See, that's where I know it from is because I read the books, but that was when I was like a kid.
Okay, okay. Do you know the plot?
Um, so I vaguely know what happens in the last book, and I know like of the situations.
Okay,
So like when we were watching the show, I was like, "Oh, okay, we're at the third book now."
okay.
And she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Yeah, we're at the third book now. This one's the fourth book."
Okay, okay, okay. Because I do not know anything. I've seen the Jim Carrey movie. I love the Jim Carrey movie. So I went into this series with literally only the Jim Carrey movie as like knowledge. And the Jim Carrey movie covers about 3 books, I think. It covers the first,
Yes,
second, and
it's an
third.
abridged version of the first 3 books.
Yes. I was blown away by the series, but like in a really slow. Blown away isn't the right metaphor. I like watched it and I kept being like, I like that. I'm gonna watch one more. I like that. And then I don't know when it happened, but this show became one of my favorite TV shows. Now, I don't know how much of this is a credit to the book and how much of this is a credit to this TV show, because it feels like a very faithful adaptation from everything that I've heard and seen. Like, they give 2 episodes, so essentially 2 hours to every single book, which is cool.
Yeah.
But the dialogue in this show, and not just the dialogue between characters, but the dialogue between Lemony Snicket and ourselves as the audience, is so well done. It's so good, and everything. Okay, all right. Okay, I just want to say this to the audience, because John, you've already seen the show, and anyone listening who hasn't seen the show, I just want to explain this to them, because everything I like about the show needs to be prefaced by this. The whole show is about how adults treat children, and how they treat children in different ways, but mostly it's about how they treat them in negative ways. So whether they undermine them, they don't listen to them, they don't trust what they say, they think that they're delusional. It's all these different things that we just go, oh, you know, they're just kids being kids, you know? When, in fact, in the show, the whole point is that the kids always have the correct answer. They're always the smart ones, but no one ever listens to them. They're the only ones that can see through Olaf's disguise. And the way that the show really makes you feel this is through the dialogue, because there are these ways that the characters treat you as the audience, where you feel like you're being talked down to, like a kid. Like, there's this running gag, and I want to know your opinion on this, because you've just said that you've seen the show. I haven't even actually asked you if you like it. But there's this running gag that I love, where everything that is remotely like a long word is always explained to you. Like, everything is explained to you in numerous times, so much so that you feel like you're being patronized, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to patronize you as an audience, so you feel for the kids, because the kids are always being patronized. And like, there's what is the phrase? In the belly of the beast. There's like this episode
In the belly of the beast
towards the end where they're like, the phrase "in the belly of the beast" means to be in a situation that you do not want to be in. And they keep telling you again and again, and you're like, dude, I know. And then you go, oh shit, this is what they're making me feel. I get it. It's so good. I love this show so much. I want to have your opinion on it now. I feel like I've talked about it a lot.
So I love it.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the books when I was younger.
Okay.
I've been having this weird relationship with it where I watch it, and then sometimes like the situations happen, and I'm like, oh god, this is so ridiculous at some points. Like, all of the characters are so stupid. But then it's the same thing where you're supposed to feel that way.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to get mad that I'm like, oh, you guys are this super secret organization, but you can't also, are we spoiling or not?
Yeah, we're spoiling. I
Okay.
get through that.
You can't see through these disguises that are also from the same disguise kit that you guys use.
It is so good. He can't either, which is so good. He can't. He uses the kit the most out of everyone. But when other people use disguises, he can't see through them. Like, like he can't see the librarian through the man
Which
in Lulu
she
disguise.
is, my favorite.
She's great.
Favorite character,
She's
probably.
great.
And then Nathan Fillion is great.
So
I feel like, because I was talking to Christina about this, I feel like in the books they did not give you as much information about the secret organization.
well,
Like, I don't remember reading as much about like Larry the waiter being there, or like the secretary. I feel like those characters weren't around maybe in the early books. Maybe they show up later, but I could have swore like it followed the children more closely, and you didn't really know about VFD and all that stuff until like, the circus, really.
I think the way Jen described it to me, because she hasn't read the books, but she knows how they came out. They released all the books, and everyone loved them, but there was always this air of mystery, because it is a conspiracy TV show. That I think that's a fair way to put it. The whole show was about a conspiracy. But then what he did was he released all the books, and then after the books were out, he released a big compendium, like an encyclopedia of VFD, and it's basically the unfinished encyclopedia on secret organizations. He released that as a book that explained a lot of things that were left open in the book.
Okay, because I thought the book was a lot more open. Like, I remember reading that last book and just being like, what?
Yeah.
But also, I distinctly remember like the opening of that book. still to this day, like I don't think I have it 100% accurate, but it's like this is the end of the beginning of the end of the beginning of the end. It's like this long-winded thing of like the end of everything starting of the end of it. It's great, but I love Patrick Warburton.
Oh, he's
he is
best.
He's amazing. Casting him and Nathan Fillion as brothers, by the way, the best decision ever.
I can't believe it hasn't been done before because they are so perfect. Like I look at them and I go, yeah, like 100%. There's that scene in the last 2 episodes where it's a flashback to them, you know, hanging out as brothers.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it totally, I completely 100% believe it. Patrick Warburton absolutely kills it in this show. He's by far got the toughest job. He is never acting with anyone. He's always alone. He is always monologuing, which I don't act, but I can't imagine monologuing is the easiest thing to do because you need to captivate an audience all by yourself. And dude, he's so you almost are more interested in his story than anyone else's because it gives you.
Oh god, the more details you find out about it, it's just when you slowly when you finally find out who Beatrice is, it's like, oh, thank you, like something. And then the scene, my favorite scene probably in the entire show, is because it's so smart in how little it does. Is the scene with him and Jack Snicket in the back of the taxi or in the taxi whistling.
Oh yes! Oh my!
He's like, what I would give to be with my brother again, and it's using his position as an omniscient, like a narrator, to give him the thing that like the character personally can't have anymore, which is to be with his brother.
100%. It is, and it's
and
so good.
They whistle together, and it's like just this beautiful, like probably not even 30-second shot, but it's just one of those things that hits you right in the heart because it's like, oh, he's getting the thing that he wants, but he's technically not because he's not like actually in this moment, and it's
it is so good. And it's and a little bit before that in the same episode, Jack Snicket mentions that he thinks his brother is dead, or he hasn't seen his brother for a long, long time. So it's not just that Lemony Snicket hasn't been with his brother, but it's also giving Jack Snicket posthumously what he's always wanted, which is to be with his brother again. And they have that moment that they share, and it's pretty soon after that Jack dies. And it's just like... Like, when Jack dies, it's not exactly Jack dying that makes you sad, but it's the reaction that Lemony gives. Like, it's because you follow him through the whole thing. He is basically a main character. Like, he's not in it as much as the kids, but you just are as emotionally attached to him. So when his brother dies, and then he almost has to continue narrating. He has to force himself to narrate through the sadness of reliving the moment, because he is literally going from location to location, retreading the steps. So he has to go to the town where his brother dies, and it's so sad, dude. Oh man.
And those kids, man. I've seen. So, do you remember the flashback scenes of Supergirl from the beginning of the show?
Yes, yeah.
So that's Violet.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it was her. And then they switch actresses, I think, because she started doing a series of unfortunate events. But she is great. And the boy, I've not seen him in anything.
No, I mean,
but they're both
they're both really good. I think she is probably the more impressive out of the two.
Yeah.
Not to judge the boy, he's great, but I think the things she has to do and the way she has to react as the eldest. She really impresses me so far. But yeah, and like, just I could talk about this. I wanted to do a really comprehensive scripted video on this, and I still will. Hopefully, I don't know whether to wait till season 3, but the way the show, like you said, that technique they use with Jack and Lemony, it's so deep, but the show doesn't feel like it is. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel
because
like it's trying to be smarter than you.
Ridiculous.
100%.
So ridiculous. Every character, every action of nobody, even like the Baudelaires, nobody acts like a normal person.
No.
Nobody. 100%. Everyone's got a tick. I mean, Mr. Poe with his coughing, which is one of my favorite jokes, that he just coughs and everyone's like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't get that he's coughing every 3 seconds, and he started coughing more and more in season 2. I feel like they're like, hey, could you just cough every second? Every 2 lines, cough.
There's a great scene. I can't remember where it is, whether it's season 1 or 2. But also, we have to give props to a dude who 100% deserves it, but we haven't mentioned yet, which is Neil Patrick Harris. Like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
But there's a scene which I don't know whether it's scripted or not. I like to think that it's not, where Mr. Poe coughs in his face and he accidentally swallows it. It's the fucking best. He coughs and then Neil Patrick Harris, he swallows it and he's like, it's so good. But yeah, it's so, like you said, because it's so ridiculous, because it is on the line of not taking itself serious, but it still is able to do these amazingly cinematic things that are really, really smart and really thought out. You almost blink and you miss it, because you're not watching it with that mind. You're not watching it like you watch like something like The Dark Knight, where you're looking for them. You're watching it with this is such a fun show, but then they hit you and they go, oh my god. Like, there's a scene where one of the characters is talking. No, that's it. So the evil woman, I can't remember her name. She goes out. She's now dating.
Yeah, she always gives herself a fake, really long, abstract name.
Yeah, but she's obviously the husband of one of their guardians, and the wife of one of their guardians, and she turns out to be evil. But there's a scene where she walks in front of a projection of Jack Snicket. And she's saying something, and it lines up with what he's saying, and the projection of his face projects onto her face, and it's like such a cool moment where it's like she is twisting his words, and there are all these. They're throughout. I don't think there might be an episode that hadn't at one point really impressed me like that. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
There's also just the lines. I know I've mentioned the lines before, but there's a bit where again, like we've mentioned before, the show gives you everything in breadcrumbs. It's so little. It like spoon feeds you information. You always want more. And there's a bit where Lemony Snicket, he's just in the middle of a monologue, and he's just talking about, sometimes you do something and you feel like it's the only option. You regret it, and you don't think it's the right thing to do, but it's the only thing to do, and you think that it'll lead to the right thing to do, but maybe you shouldn't do it. Like that time I stole the sugar bowl, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't drop
they just
that in.
drop information that is like, it's also the most random information that, like, because this plot is so like twisty and turny, like they'll just like randomly, like, you get the like kind of cliffhanger of like, oh no, like the woman in the dragonfly costume got pushed off of a ledge.
Yeah.
And then randomly, like unceremoniously, they're just like, yeah, and I failed to kill that woman. It's like, well, huh? What?
But that's the thing, right, dude? It's not just I failed to kill that woman. It's I failed to kill that woman. Who knew that costume could actually fly? You're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's so good. It's so good. And like, again, I could just quote the show, which is boring to everyone except for me and you, probably. But like, there are so many lines like that. There are so many, and like, they're lines where you go, no, they're genius, but you have to watch the entire show to realize why. Because if you just said them to someone who hadn't seen the show, they'd be like, what are you talking about? What is a sugar bowl? Why is it important? And then if they asked me, why is the sugar bowl important? I would go, I don't know. I don't know.
It was her sugar bowl. It got stolen. There was a fire.
There's something inside it, I think, maybe.
I think the smartest thing the show did, or something it did very early on, was where it tricked you into thinking that the Baudelaire parents were still alive.
Oh,
because it was the Quagmire parents.
Oh my god.
It was the Quagmire parents. And then they go back to it and they're like, no, actually, one of them is alive. We took that hope away from you, but now we're giving it back.
Or are they?
Or are they? We're still like, it's so that, because at first I was like, really? Like, you're gonna, because I believe, if I might have this wrong, but in the credits after the first episode where the Quagmire parents show up,
yes,
I believe in the credits they title them as the Baudelaire parents.
Oh, really?
to mess with you. I believe because
Oh
I remember
man.
I could have swore I saw the credit and I was like, really? You're gonna show me the credit? Like thanks, editor, whoever messed that up. Like you guys are stupid. And then I'm like, no, I'm the dumb one. I read the books. I know it's the Quag. I know the Quagmire parents are. Oh, how did I? It was really
It's
good.
so good because the entire series they run parallel.
Yeah,
Those two characters, Kobe Smulders and Will Arnett, they run parallel, and you always think you've always got that piece of hope. You're like, they just gotta find each other, and then when they turn up at the Quagmire mansion, you just go, I cannot believe that I put
yeah,
all my hope on that. It's so good, and like another thing that the show does really well. Is that element of like you never trust the show fully.
yeah,
Like the show teaches you not to trust it, so that when something happens, you immediately start going, wait, like what is actually happening right now? Like I mean, for example, like Madame Lulu, like you know the whole stuff with where she's doing the spirits are talking and stuff. You know, as a viewer of that show at that point, you're like, okay, no, they're not going to do magic. We're too far into the show for them to introduce magic. So you go, okay, what exactly is happening? You know, who is Madame Lulu? I did not see through her disguise. I did not realize she was the
I
librarian
didn't either.
until it was revealed. Exactly. Like, so I start going, well, maybe she's this, maybe she's that, maybe she's this. And you're always coming up with theories while you watch it. You watch it almost not to enjoy it, but to add to your collection of clues. You know, it's almost like
Yeah,
watching the show is accumulating these clues. And yeah, so right now I want to know our running theories because I don't think it's easy to watch this show. Oh no, you know the book. Okay, okay. If you have a theory that isn't based on your knowledge of the book, I'd like to hear it, but I don't want you to spoil the book for me.
yeah.
But my theory, and this is me and Jen, this is where we're thinking, it's loose, it's flimsy, we're not 100% confident in it,
Yeah.
but we think that maybe, just maybe, Lemony Snicket is the dad. That's where
That's
we are.
that is something that because the stuff with Beatrice and like
He
it's
loves
like
you,
okay,
right?
well, why would they burn down the board of the Baudelaire mansion because of her unless she was their mom? Like,
She's gotta be. She is. I'm almost sure
and
they've
so like because I don't
mentioned.
remember the stuff with the parents where the parents goes out, and
Okay.
that's the problem is that I think they're mixing stuff from that unauthorized biography you're talking about
Yeah.
and the book because I don't remember the book even giving you a hint that one of the parents is still alive.
Mm.
It's also been like I want to say the last book came out in like '09
Okay.
or 2010 maybe,
Mm.
somewhere around that range. So it's been a while since because I've not read them back. So I could also be remembering it wrong. But I feel like the show focused more on the Baudelaires, and you didn't. VFD was always this question mark
Yeah.
of what it was. So yeah, I want to believe that Jiminy Sicket is. Oh, but then I just feel so bad that Jacques is like maybe there is their uncle, and like
Not just that, but we know, right? So say that he is, for the sake of it. Now, this
yeah,
show is deceptively sad as well. You don't realize how sad it is when you're watching it because you're like, oh, it's such a fun, wacky place. But then the sad things happen. You go, oh, God. Say that he is their father somehow and that Baudelaire is Beatrice's second name. That was our theory, that he took her second name for whatever reason. And it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility in this show that he would do that.
oh, her maiden name. Oh, that is interesting.
Yes. So say that Beatrice Baudelaire marries Lemony Snicket and Lemony Snicket becomes a Lemony Baudelaire. Then they have kids and then they die in a fire and their kids never find out about VFD. Except Lemony Snicket survives and now he is retracing his own kids' steps to try and figure out what happened to them. Like the whole show is about the dad desperately looking for his children. It's like
So I mean, that would be really good, but I feel like that's it's one of those that I want to happen, but I feel like it's too left field.
exactly. I don't have a lot of confidence in it, but it's like
Yeah.
this is what the show does to you. You just put things
Yeah.
together in your brain.
Well, I feel like the show has to end. I mean, they join the organization.
I think they
right?
die.
Like, I mean, the orphans?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they die.
I don't know, dude.
I
I
think that's
don't
too
know.
unfortunate. I think that is
It
too.
is.
I know it's a series of unfortunate events. I feel like that's a bridge too far. You're gonna kill a baby.
Maybe not the baby, but I don't know. I mean,
She's the only surviving Baudelaire. Because I feel like someone needs to fix VFD because obviously they had a schism. The organization kind of went away from what it was supposed to
For
be,
those who
and
don't
I
know,
feel
a
like,
schism is.
oh my god, that was great.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Oh my god,
I know what a schism is. I know what a schism is. It's so good.
but I feel like someone has to fix that. Whether that's see, because part of me wishes the librarian had stayed alive, and then she had gone to take over the organization and bring it to what it was supposed to be, but she got eaten. Well, we think that's the weird thing about a lot of the deaths is that they're off screen.
Yeah.
So part of me is like, but what if she didn't get eaten by a lion? Huh? Maybe.
Yeah, and they make such a point of showing Jack's body when he dies. Like, they make such a point of being like, oh, Jack Snicket is dead. This is his body. You literally see his body on the table. So you go, okay. But then, like you said, all the other deaths are quite... We never see the parents die, which again leaves open the fact that one of them might be still alive. You know, we never see... The only ones we see die are, like, characters that, I mean, you couldn't really bring back. Like a lot of the carers, they die in certain ways that are just like, okay, I understand. Librarian maybe, but then also there is that scene with Lemony Snicket where he's like, I can't believe, you know, I always wanted to meet the man who my brother fell for and stuff.
I love their relationship too. That was just so sweet.
Yeah,
they were just so cute.
They were.
Speaking of,
sorry, carry on.
I was gonna say, speaking of relationships, and then I was gonna segue.
Yes, that's a good idea. This segue out of this. I'm gonna talk about this too much.
Because I would literally talk about this forever. My topic for today's show, drum roll. Speaking of relationships, favorite fictional romances, and maybe a sprinkle of what makes a good fictional romance.
Now, you messaged me this with ample time, and as such, I do have answers. However, I spent all that time thinking about what my topic could be in tandem with your topic, like a topic that could go with that and maybe complement it. And literally, this is the best I could come up with. It is terrible, I admit, it's lazy, but it also is something, because I thought of it and I was like, no, that's too lazy. But then I kept being like, but that is an interesting question, even if it is lazy. My topic will be least favorite fictional relationship.
So I think the theming for today's show, because I think we had kind of a theme of like, because we talked about your name,
yes,
we talked about relationships, and we've kind of relationships that sprinkled throughout the show. So we're talking about fictional relationships, bad ones, good ones.
I apologize for being boring, but I was just going to ask that on a different episode if it wasn't this one. So
I think it's good. It's a theme. I like it.
Can you guess what my favorite relationships are going to be?
Oh, see, the problem is, I mean, I feel like it's a little bit hard, actually.
Okay.
A little difficult. Because, like, my brain, when I actually had to think about my favorite romances, I was like, oh, wow, like, I'm not really 100% sure. Because the problem is a lot of comic books, not throwing shade, maybe I am, they do it badly.
Yes, 100%.
And you have these couples that are, like, historically, couples. This is like, these two people, they're always together. I mean, they always come back together no matter what. They might not always be together, but they'll eventually come back to each other. But like Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris, not a good relationship.
No, not really. I mean, it's good in the sense that it's very entertaining and it's very dramatic, and I think it's good in terms of storytelling. But in terms of a relationship, like, no.
And that's the thing is, like, do we mean... Because it's like my favorite romances, I mean, probably, obviously, Your Name, I think, does it incredibly well. One of my favorites. Edward Elric and Winry from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Okay.
But then it's like, what classifies like your favorite? Is it they are actually a good couple, or
Yeah.
is it I enjoyed their journey? Because sometimes like you have like couples who have a really great journey, but they're kind of a bad couple because of how their journey goes, you know?
100%, and I think that really factors into my choice because if we were going to go with most entertaining, like couples that I love, I might potentially say Batman and Catwoman, but that would definitely not fall into the realm of healthy relationships that I think are good. like,
Yeah.
like Batman and Catwoman is one of my favorite relationships in comics. I always feel like when you have those two characters in like a romantic situation, there's a lot of cool, interesting, fun, and deep things that you can do.
It's electric.
It is, but it isn't the healthiest of
Yeah.
relationships, and that's kind of its charm. That's kind of what I love about it. I'm going to go in the middle, honestly. I think for me, favorite implies the one I enjoy the most, the one I connect to the most, the one that I feel like has a good mix of, they really belong together and I really enjoy them together. I want them to be together. However, it's not unrealistic and it's not
Yeah.
it's not ignoring things that real couples do have to deal with, because I feel like there are relationships out there that just work. They just work because the writers want these two characters to be together, and they put very little obstacles in the way. They'll put one or two just to have but it'll usually be a situational thing, an awkward thing, a misunderstanding. It won't be an actual real problem. And those relationships are cool. They're fun to ship. They're fun to go, oh, they belong together, Trying to think of some to spring to mind. I mean, Lois and Clark is a good one. They rarely
Yeah.
have any big issues unless you're reading like a really good Superman writer. A lot of times Lois and Clark are just together and they just support each other. Iris West and Barry Allen are the same, where a lot
I
of
love them.
times...
I like the TV show version of how
Okay.
they do their relationship.
Yeah.
I think the TV show does it very well where, I mean, obviously like drama or CW show, they have
Yeah.
like, oh, this is like the argument of the episode or whatever. But I don't know, I think the relationship has grown very well and they've gotten to that point where it's like, yes, they argue, but they're probably never going to break up. But I feel like it's earned.
Yeah, I have a
I
lot
feel like the wedding was earned. I feel like the wedding was
Yes.
actually earned in
100%.
that show. Oh wow, the other wedding that happened that upstaged the main wedding, Oliver and Felicity.
Okay.
That was 100% not earned.
Really?
And that relationship, I don't think so.
We're about to fight, dude. We're about to fight
don't
over
think
the
so.
internet. I think...
I loved that relationship in the beginning, but I think they did the problem where they gave them too many obstacles, and I couldn't buy them as a couple anymore. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's interesting.
And then also the fact that literally Barry and Iris are like, hey, let's get married. And then Oliver's like, hey, Felicity, let's get married too. And I'm like, don't you take their
But
moment, you son of a bitch.
Isn't that such an Oliver thing to do, though?
It is. He's the worst. My wife was so mad. She was so furious.
That's interesting. I think maybe it just comes down to who you prefer, maybe. Because I love the Flash. I think the Flash TV show is great. I think it's better than Arrow, but that relationship has always been a love-hate thing with me, where some episodes I think they do it really well, other episodes I don't know. It annoyed me in the early days of the Flash because I really liked this idea that Iris was with Eddie, and that the Flash had to learn that he doesn't always get what he wants. From the beginning, he always pines for Iris. And putting it with Eddie was really cool because it was like, dude, Eddie is not a bad guy. He's not this dick that you can go, oh, he has my girl.
No, he is
He's a genuinely nice guy. He deserves his relationship with Iris. Completely makes sense. The reason that she wants to be with him completely makes sense, and it's great. When that falls apart, they have the good opportunity of letting Iris go through that moan and then eventually end up with Barry. But because he was so good with Iris, I had this weird period where I was like, I don't know, dude. It doesn't feel right anymore. I was so down with the Iris and Eddie thing. Like now it's weird. And then what really?
See, I was just waiting on the ticking time clock for them to be over, I guess. Because I was just also that actor, like, he's always one of those guys that I'm like, I want to like you more.
Okay.
But something about I don't know if it's his face or just something about him. He was also in Vampire Diaries as like this evil college professor.
Oh.
Which, oh God, I'm going to get off on another tangent if I don't stop myself. So I'm just going to keep on going with my current train of thought. I do love that. I think Iris and Barry's relationship, like starting from the pining friends, we used to be weird siblings thing, which that's also a weird thing that I don't understand fully in fiction. This obsession of like, they're not real siblings, but they're fake siblings. And now they're in a relationship.
No.
I don't get it. It's super popular in like young adult fiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Either
way.
It is one of the... Sorry, Karen.
No, I get your point out.
It is one of the things that turns me off, honestly, because I'm such a Barry and Joe fan. I love their relationship so much.
They do have a great relationship.
And he is the dad. He is Barry's second dad, 100%. He's such a good dad to Barry that it almost feels it's just like, oh, you would... If he was like a kid that lived there, if they fostered him, you know, and he lived there, but it was always this idea of like he's detached in some way. But they raised him it's just so weird. I just can't get past it. It's like it wasn't even in the comics. It's not like one of these awkward things that they have to go, okay, we have to do it because it was in the comic, but we'll try and figure it out. They made that up for the show.
Yeah, that is. I get that. But I just think. See, my problem is I love that those actors, and I think they do it really well. I think if it was any other group, any other cast, it might not go over as well.
Okay.
I'd focus more on the brother and sister thing, but especially since they're at like this marriage point, and we've gotten, geez, are we on season 4 now?
Season 4. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's crazy. But we've had so many episodes, and since they're married, it feels like a good father-in-law.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like now it's father-in-law, really good, close father-in-law. And I
also like, I love Iris's, her turning from like pined after to partner. To they are very much like a team, and they are very much like partners. Now, I'm not caught up on the Flash.
Neither am I, to be honest. Neither am I.
Okay. So I felt like you had a knowing laugh about something, and I was like, wait, what?
No, it wasn't a knowing laugh. It's a laugh. I don't know. Look, I don't even know what the general consensus on this relationship is, so I don't know which of us is being controversial right now.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't come into account. Each person has their own opinions. I was only laughing because Jen and I watched The Flash together, and we have like running jokes. I'm sure you do this with your wife, you know, when you watch stuff together. I'm sure everyone does when they watch things together, even without their partners, with friends or whatever. You have running occurrences, running jokes and running things. One of our things, and this might be bad, but it happened and now we can't stop noticing it, is we kind of bully Iris. It's not fair really, but we always like we shout at the screen to remind her that she doesn't have any superpowers.
Oh my god!
Because
you guys are the worst.
She keeps going, "We are the Flash," and we're like, "Nah, Barry's the Flash. You're not the Flash."
It's so horrible.
It didn't. I feel like that was a sentiment that caught a lot of people, and a lot of people it didn't, and I didn't feel like we caught it. I feel like the relationship. I'm not bashing their relationship. I think it's good. I like it. Like you said, I like how long it took to develop. I think that's something that we need to value in media. A lot of people, they either take way too long to the point where it's just stupid, which we've talked about before. But there's also this idea of love at first sight, which I don't really get a lot, or maybe it does exist, but it's not interesting when you do it all the time. Whereas Barry and Iris really felt like Iris fell in love with Barry. It wasn't like this idea of like they were always in love, you know. She kind of fell in love with him throughout the course of the show, and he you know, proved why she should. it's just one of those relationships where like sometimes I'm really digging it, I'm really hitting the groove, I'm like, yeah, these two belong together, and then other times, Moody Barry really put me. But season 3 Barry,
Yeah.
Moody Barry, there were points where we just like, leave him, Iris. This is bizarre. This is insane. Like, he is moody to the point now where it's just like, not leave him, but like, you need to have a conversation, and she's not dealing with this. Like, he's being neglectful. He's being, and I get that he's doing it ultimately because he wants to save her life. Like, that's his whole
Yeah.
thing. Is like, he's trying to. There's this date where she dies, you know, and he has to do. But like, it almost felt like to me and to Jen that it was like he's putting this future version of her that doesn't exist yet above her in the present,
Yeah.
you know, and he was being moody and angry and angsty and stuff. And I felt like we'd gotten past that after season 2, but then it got right back into it in season 3. But you are right, in season 4, well, now that they're married, especially, a lot of the things that they do, and this isn't to say that, you know, you have to be married, but it just happened that after they got married, their relationship feels more connected. It feels more
Yeah.
full and fluid. The We Are the Flash thing is just a funny thing that I think that, I don't know why it irks me, but it's just like, do you know what happens to Iris? I haven't caught up either, but I know kind of what happens.
So she gets powers or
Apparently,
something?
yes. Apparently she becomes...
I don't know if it's a temporary thing or if it's like a forever thing.
Well, if they're going with New 52 Flash, it is a temporary thing. Because if you
Yeah.
remember in New 52, she gets powers for a little bit, which is cool.
And I kind of hope they do the temporary thing. I also like, I don't love Elongated Man.
Oh, like
I want to like him, but
I'm gonna get back to the topic. I swear we're gonna get back to the topic. But
I know it kind of turned into talk about the Flash for him.
I really don't like Elongated Man, and this is why.
Yeah.
This is why. It's
I
not because
want
that
to
actor
like
is
him.
bad. It's not because the story isn't interesting. It's because, for me, as a comic book fan, this is me being really annoying, like a teenage Cameron again, like bringing up the comic
Where's
books.
Sue?
He is a nice guy. He's a good husband. He's Elongated Man to me is in Identity Crisis. You know Identity
Yeah.
Crisis? Like, that is Elongated Man. He's this really caring husband who gets, you know, throughout the course of Identity Crisis, his world gets shattered, obviously. But like, that is the guy I think of. What they're doing is a weird amalgamation of Elongated Man and Plastic Man. Like,
Yeah, it was
Plastic
so weird.
Man,
I'm like, why didn't you just do Eel O'Brien then? Why'd you have to do Ralph?
and I love Eel. Eel is arguably, I always say he is because it's funnier than saying Deathstroke, but I always say that Eel O'Brien is my favorite superhero. He's my favorite comic book character. I don't know how factual that is, but he's definitely up there. I love the idea of him. I love the idea of this you know, crony, this
Con artist.
this con artist who turns into a superhero. But even as a superhero, he's kind of conning people. You know, he's kind of not taking on. He doesn't really take on the save the world jobs. He's like, oh, I'll stop Kite Man. You know, that's the dude that I'll choose as my villain. And I love Eel O'Brien. I think he's such a funny character. And this actor really could have killed it. He really could have done a good Eel. But it feels like a weird amalgamation of Plastic Man and Elongated Man, and they bash Plastic Man, which really annoyed me because there's a bit where he goes, maybe I should be Plastic Man. They go, no, it's a terrible name. I'm like, dude, don't come a Plastic Man.
Yeah, it's so weird. But back to the
relationships.
topic.
I'll just, because I feel like I derailed this. I'm gonna say. Actually, no. Was Iris and Barry one of yours? Was that one of yours?
Yeah, that's one of mine.
Okay. I respect that. I don't know if I agree, but you know, I think that.
Just come on over to America, bro.
We'll fight. I'm not saying that.
Well, I'll fight you.
Oh no, dude! I remember why we were going to fight originally. It was the Felicity bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're the worst.
They're the best.
We're gonna have words.
The reason I like them,
But yeah,
they're
so
far apart from each
good
other.
relationships.
Yes, good relationships that I really like. One that I think is, because I mentioned Catwoman and Batman as being like a bad relationship that is really entertaining.
Yeah.
One that I think is a good balance, a really good balance, that I think it really does toe the line between, you're like, is this a healthy relationship? but to the point where you go, oh geez, there was an interesting sound coming out of your mic. Then I don't know what happened.
Oh, sorry.
um, but yeah, to a point where you have to kind of always question whether or not the relationship is healthy, which is Haru and Shizuku from My Little Monster.
I was wondering when My Little Monster was going to get brought up.
Yeah, I really, really, really like that relationship. I think it's really dynamic. It's really interesting. And what I like about it is that it's not perfect, but it is. If you know what I mean? It's like, it's not... They go through really serious problems. And especially more so in the manga, like where they keep going and they keep, hitting these problems. Because Haru, essentially, it's never said... I don't think it's said anyway, but I think Haru has mental health problems. I really do think he has mental health issues. The way that he acts, the way that he talks.
And I don't know if it's a translation, but like the first time they meet has that really weird line.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've warned everyone who watches it. I'm like, listen, it's my favorite anime of all time, but it is the worst.
But it has one weird part. I apologize, the worst line ever. But after that, it gets good.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird line. But it's one of those things where, I mean, obviously the title of the show or the manga, it's My Little Monster, and that's kind of like, especially in the beginning, like what the relationship feels like.
Yeah.
But it really like grows into like just this really caring and supportive thing.
The way I kind of see it, and the reason I think I really like it and relate to it a lot, is because what happens is you have these two characters who are pretty much the opposite, pretty much 100% the opposite in terms of their priorities, in terms of their attitudes, in terms of what they value, but because they find each other and they're so captivated by how different the other one is that they almost throughout the course of their relationship become less extreme versions of themselves. They open up to the other person's world. So Haru throughout the show, he learns he learns somewhat to restrain himself. He learns to understand, what other people are going through, whereas she learns about emotions and she learns about expressing herself and not being so closed off. And what I like about them is, even though they do this, and even though they have this idea of they learn from each other, and they're constantly arguing, they're constantly falling into problems, they always have this mentality of, we need to work it out. Like, the one similarity between the two characters is they always want to work it out. They always want to figure out what's wrong. Like, Haru and Shizuku both have lines when they're monologuing where it's like, I don't know why this is happening. I want to fix it. I want to find it. Like, Shizuku approaches it very mathematically. Like, she creates these plans. Like, she has this scene where she's sitting down, making schedules as to how to fix her relationship with Haru. Whereas Haru is he's very proactive. He's like, okay, Shizuku is mad. I need to figure something out. So I'm going to jump and I'm going to do fishing. I'm just going to fish until I get a good fish. And he just fishes for hours and hours and hours. But I can't speak for every relationship, but certainly for my own, I've been there. I've been in the situation where I'm like, I don't know what the solution to this is, but I want Jen to be happy. I want this awkward, argument or disagreement that we have to be over. So I'm just going to do the first thing that comes to my head that is going to fix it, Yeah,
we are arguing about this, so I'm just going to go do that thing. It's like, well, I don't need you to do that thing now. Why are you doing it now? It's like...
I remember there was a point where Jen and I had this big argument back when we were kids. We were really young. And I remember we had this argument. It wasn't really an argument. It was more just I was doing. I can't even remember what I was doing, but I was doing something, and it was really it was making her upset. So she was like, listen, she aired her grievances, and then she went home, and I was like, oh man, I gotta figure out, But instead of sitting down and being like, maybe I should change who I am, maybe I should prove to her that I'm not this person anymore and I can grow and stuff. I was like, I remember a long time ago, we went to a shop and she said she wanted a Superman hoodie, so now I'm gonna buy her a Superman hoodie, and everything's gonna be fixed. So I liked it. I scoured town. I found the Superman hoodie. I bought the Superman hoodie. I brought it back to my house, and then the next day I invited her
And then
over.
it turns out you were arguing about money, and you just wasted money.
No. Luckily, it doesn't have that bad of an ending. So she comes over, and we talk for a while, and then throughout talking, I wish I could remember what it was about, but I somehow, prove to her that I was acknowledging what she was mad at, and I was going to try to be better at it, whatever. And she was like, okay, so we hugged and made up, and I was like, she could see that I was a bit bummed, and she was like, what's up? Like, I thought we were better. I thought we were okay. And I was like, well, I thought this superhero hoodie, I didn't get to give it to you. I thought that was going to solve the argument. And she was like, we just solved the argument. Why are you bummed? And I was like, well, it was my plan. This was what I was going to do.
Yeah. Oh my God. 100% the same way, where it's like, oh, what do you want to do today? And I have like this giant plan in my head of like, we're going to do this and this and this. And then none of that happens. It's like, well, we had a fun day. Yeah. Well, why are you upset? Well, it just didn't go how I thought it would go. Well, yeah, but it was still a good day.
Totally. It's crazy. But yeah, so I think Shizuku and Haru is up there for me. In terms of like realistic relationships, how people act in relationships, and how you can be in love and really be with the one person that you're going to be with for the rest of your life, but still have these, these pretty sizable problems that you need to work together and work out. And the way they do it is really well, like where it's not like each of them do it in self-destructive ways, but they also don't do it in the perfect way. They don't take the perfect route. It's like stepping stones and learning about each other. Like there's a bit where like Haru licks Shizuku at one point because he doesn't know boundaries. He just licks her hand because he just thinks it'd be a nice thing to do, and she's like totally not okay with it. She's like, that's really inappropriate. You can't do that. You're fucked up. And then there's later on in the episode, they're talking, and he goes to lick her, and then he has a flashback to that bit where she's like, it's totally inappropriate, and then he goes away and he's like, okay, I'm not going to do that because I know that was a bad thing. And then he walks away. And then she's like really mad at him because he like came really close to her and like went to lick her, which is like almost the same thing. And he doesn't understand why she's mad. And he's like, oh, she must be seeing that I'm growing and I'm being a better person. Like he just doesn't get it. So that relationship is really good. Do you have an example of that where it's like a relationship that isn't perfect but is still like, really good?
I think Ed and Winry is a really good example of types of relationships anime do a lot. Just, I think, if I remember correctly, it's like Tsundere.
Oh,
Tsundere?
Yeah. Like a
where
tiger.
it's like, I'm mad at you, I hate you, but I secretly like really care for you and love you, which I think can be done wrong a lot. A lot of times you have a character who's so Tsundere that you can't see the forest for the trees. And you're like, I don't actually see, like, I feel like the caring thing that you actually like have feelings is just something tacked on because you focus so much on all that. While Winry and Edward have a really good balance where, she's mad at him because Edward Elric does some dumb shit. Edward Elric, like, just is self-destructive and messes up a lot and ruins his automail and doesn't take care of it. And so when he goes to visit her, everyone, like, I'm assuming everyone in the audience has seen Full Metal Alchemist, and I don't have to explain how their relationship works.
Funny enough, I actually haven't finished it. It's one of my favorite mangas of all time, and I'm at a point now where I feel like I'm getting towards the end, and I just stopped. Because I didn't want it to end. It's really weird. I know
that's me with Persona 5.
So, but I know the majority of the story, and I know their relationship. I mean, it kind of is obvious throughout that that's his romantic relationship. What I really like about that, and what you mentioned,
you could tell that they actually care about each other in like an adult way. Of like, I'm mad at you because you make self-destructive, shitty decisions, but I really care about you, and that's why I'm so mad.
I think that's ultimately what it comes down to in their relationship, is that she's never mad for silly reasons. You know? She's never mad because, I mean, a typical tsundere thing is like, the guy, assuming that the tsundere is a girl, the guy will express like, gratitude, and then the girl will get mad at him just because he's showing gratitude and she doesn't know how to deal with it. It's really silly. It's really stupid, and I don't think that really happens much, unless some people are really like uncomfortable with compliments. But but with Winry, she's mad, like you said, a lot because he does a lot of things that deserve for him to be mad at. like he and she, and then the automail thing is a great way to set their relationship up, because obviously they're friends and they're really close as kids, but her job is also to keep his, his arm and leg working, and he doesn't help her. Like, he does everything against that.
It's like going to your car mechanic and he's like, "Did you do anything since the last time I saw you?" "No, not really. You've been driving with no windshield fluid for 5 months.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And
It's
not just
good."
that, but you've been using magic to turn your car into a sword every so often. Just because it's cool. You could make a sword out of literally anything around you, but you use my thing that I built.
Oh god, it's so dope though. It looks so cool.
It does look dope, but it just makes me laugh because it's like he shows time and time again that he can make weapons out of anything, but he always chooses to fuck up her mail, like to mess with the thing that she spent so much time on. It almost feels like he's doing it just to get her mad because that's how their relationship works,
Yeah.
and like he kind of.
And then another relationship that I personally love a lot, but is really like problematic is maybe a word. Not exactly sure.
Okay.
Moulin Rouge.
Ooh.
Because their relationship is it's not a good relationship. They both like lie and hide things from each other, and at the first sign of something not going right, he just kind of tosses her to the side, basically. But it's still like one of those, like, I think it's maybe like a dark romanticism thing of just like that type of love that like almost hurts the people feeling it because they feel it so deeply.
It's like the passion, the passion over everything else. Moulin Rouge it's a tough watch, honestly. Like, it's a fun movie, but it's also quite a tough movie to watch because of that element. Because of how destructive they are in that relationship.
He tosses money at her and says, "There, I paid for my whore." Like, it's horrible.
Oh,
but
God.
it's really it's that Wuthering Heights, like, Bronte sister type of like, hey, horrible. It's probably like a destructive relationship, and it destroys. Well, not Moulin Rouge as much because it doesn't really destroy everything around them because everyone around them rallies around them and they actually save everything in the end. So it's almost like one of those stories, but with a happy ending. Instead of their passion destroying everything around them, it inspires everyone to feel that same sort of passion and kind of like save the day. I don't know. I might be reading too much into it, but I just those songs and just the Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor, man, they're just great.
They are great.
But it's one of those relationships that I'm like, I love that movie, and I just always heartbroken by their story. But it's not a good relationship.
No, I mean, that's the awkward thing. I mean, that's the cool thing about fictional, and like you said, you mentioned what makes a good relationship in fiction. It's not always a good relationship makes a good relationship,
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes it's the job of fiction to explore the idea of these fatal attractions, for lack of a better term. One of the coolest things I saw, I think it was a quote. I can't remember what it's from, but it's like, being in love with someone, like being like, oh my god, I think it's loving someone. I can't remember which way round it is, but it's like loving someone, like completely 100% loving someone, is like dangerous. It's like really dangerous, and only sometimes does that transition into being in love. Like, being in love is the nice thing that happens. It's the good outcome of loving someone. But you can love someone and they could love you back, but it just not be good. Like, it could just be not the right choice. It could, because like, I think that there are great examples of that throughout media where two characters will love each other, but it's not right. It's just not the right. I mean, we're going to talk about destructive relationships. I could go one step ahead of Batman and Catwoman and talk about my favorite movie of all time, which is Lost in Translation. Lost in Translation is by far my favorite movie of all time. Again, I could talk about it for hours and hours and hours, but I just want to mention it because there is a relationship in that movie. Have you seen Lost in Translation, John?
I actually have not.
Okay, so I'm not going to spoil it, but the whole idea is about two people that are in Tokyo that don't know each other, that are both in committed relationships. They start hanging out, and it's not really a spoiler to say that there are romantic elements to it. But the
Yeah.
whole movie is following these two people. The movie makes you feel for these two people, but you also are hyper aware the whole movie. It keeps reminding you again and again that they're both in committed relationships. They're both married. So it's like this weird like thing where you're following the two characters that are being, well, they're not being adulterous, but they're very close to being adulterous. They're both
Yeah.
very close to cheating.
It's an
Um,
emotional affair, definitely.
yeah. And I think that like it's such an interesting relationship in the sense that you really find yourself rooting for it, even though you know you shouldn't. Like you
Yeah.
keep going, this should be, these two should end up together, and then you have to go, no, 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 no. What am I thinking? That doesn't make any sense. Like even if they weren't in a relationship with each other, with their own, particular spouses, even if they were single, they definitely should not be together. Like,
Yeah.
with all the evidence the movie gives you, but because of how how dynamic the actors are together and how well they work, it shows you like that idea of loving each other, but not being able to be in love. It's not capable. The circumstances just don't line up that you should, date or see each other because man, it's so good, and I think that's something fiction does really well.
Yeah.
Special shout out. I don't want to get into it because we've talked a lot about good relationships, but my special shout out has to go to Beast Boy and Raven.
Oh, yeah.
Got to give it to my boy and my girl. Cannot believe that they put them on different teams, so I don't know who to support, but I guess Team Wonder will have to be.
What's so interesting about that? That's one of those relationships that I feel like most people like because of the TV show and not as much the comics.
It depends on
I feel like that's probably the age group, maybe.
Maybe it depends on the comics though, because
Yeah.
the good thing about the TV show, and I think the reason that is, other than the fact that TV show is very popular, is the TV show is consistent. The TV show, those two
Yeah.
characters are always the same. Like even if you watch Teen Titans Go, they still act the same. They haven't got the depth. But
It's the same voice actors too, I believe.
exactly. It's the same voice actors and they still have the same characters. It's just a bit of a watered down version. But like, so with the Teen Titans cartoon, you can kind of go, oh, this is what their relationship is like. But in the comics, each writer has a different interpretation. So sometimes
Yeah.
the relationship works, and the other times it's just really weird. But what I really love is the moments in the comics where they really push this idea that is pushed in the TV show of Raven being this character who really she's in a terrible situation where if she shows too much emotion, she is going to go full demon. Like that is something she is taught from a young age. You have to be emotionless. You have to be cut off. You have to be unempathetic, because as soon as you start letting in those good emotions, the bad ones are going to set you off, and you're going to become the demon that you were born to be. But then Beast Boy is just so sweet and so kind that she can't help but open herself up to it, even though it's going to destroy her and possibly him. Like, I just love that idea of that love that overpowers all other instincts. Everything she's learned, she just can't help but just let go of it because of Beast Boy. Do you have any honorable mentions before we get into bad relationships?
Quick honorable mention. Have you been watching Krypton?
I haven't started it yet. No, I'm gonna start it though.
You should. I think it's really good, actually. The relationship between Laita and Seg, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Seg,
Okay.
Sig. I think it's really well done. It's got that kind of like star-crossed lovers idea. I think they do it very well, and I think they're both kind of fully realized characters within their own separate lives, which is really fun and cool. And yeah, I'm just gonna start going to the bad. I'm gonna dive right in. Well, so the weird thing is, TV shows are really bad at doing relationships sometimes. I think TV shows are the easiest to meet, one of the easiest mediums to mess up
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah, 100%.
Because the CW especially, crap, we've got nothing for these two characters. Throw them together. Like, have you been? Let's see, Supergirl. I'm not caught up to like before the break happened. So I'm only like a couple of episodes into this last season.
I haven't. What have I
Has she
watched
fought
up
Rain
to?
yet?
She has
Yeah,
fought
you fought
Rain.
Rain. Do you know who
I know who you're going to talk about.
Rain
I'm just trying to
is?
figure out who. I know what the relationship you're going to bring up because that was going to be one of
Lexa and and Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, what the fuck, dude?
What is that? Oh my god, it's
such a good show as well.
such a good show. I wish, like, I know you can't always make fans happy and shippers and all that stuff, but I legitimately was like, her and Kara totally totally seem like they have like a more than friends vibe going on, and I feel like they really deeply care about each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would be happier than what the fuck is going on now.
Her and Jimmy, which makes literally happened in one episode. I don't think they had barely any interactions with each other before the episode that they decided to get together in.
Oh, but they hate each other, don't they? It's that silly thing of they spend an episode absolutely hating each other, and then all of a sudden
and then
they fall in love.
One time he like gives her a look, and someone's like, I think Jimmy likes you. What? Where did that come from?
Here's the thing. It's not even like that show is bad at relationships.
Yeah.
Because her sister is one of the most compelling characters that I've ever watched in a CW show. Rarely do I cry watching CW, because a lot of times I watch it and I go, this will be fun. But like all the
great.
stuff with her sister, with Alex, is just so good. And like the relationships she has and the reasons they fall apart are so concrete and so well done. And like, dude, I buy it. I buy that these two people that love each other just can't be together for this one fundamental reason. To go from that to what are we going to do with Jimmy? I don't know. Let's chuck him in a suit. Yeah, he's going to be a superhero for a bit. Okay, he's done that for a little bit. Now he's going to date Lex Luthor's sister. Like, what? Do something with him or get rid of him. Like, just don't.
Seriously. And it's also, like, not to go too hard on Supergirl, but another relationship that I feel like I just don't 100%. Her and Mon-El. It's what I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't 100% feel one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's kind of the worst.
Mon-El is interesting.
Like 90% of the time.
I thought that their relationship, when it started happening, I was like, okay, all right, I get it. It's cool. It's like you said, star-crossed lovers, because, you know, Kryptonians hate the Daxamites, and that's kind of cool that they're together. But then it went straight from the beginning of relationship to I am undyingly in love with you to the point where I'm going to be absolutely distraught if something happens to you. It's like it jumped, you know? And you didn't feel the Barry and Iris build. You didn't feel that slow burn, that like, oh, like these characters are falling for each other. It was like they were falling for each other 1 minute, and then they were like, we're going to get married, you know?
Yeah.
And then when he gets lost and she's like sad about it, and she's not more than sad about it, she's cut up about it. Like it completely ruins her for like the first half of season 3.
Yeah.
I really just didn't buy it. I'm like, you didn't love him that much. You didn't like know each other that much. Like, why are you so cut up about it? And then, you know, he comes back and he's all conflicted because he's got his new wife, but he also kind of still has feelings of Kara. And I'm just like, at this point, I don't care anymore. Like, it wasn't handled well early on, so now everything after it is just tainted, you know? And they need to... I get Alex is independent, she's cool, she's kicking ass by herself, but her character needs that redemption. She needs that next person, I think, because all the other relationships in the show are just not getting. I'm just not buying, and I really liked her with Maggie, and I really want. I see. For me, it was her and Rain, like that episode where she looks after Rain's kid, was really
Oh
nice
god.
and I love how Rain's kid like is trying to help her come to terms with her breakup, and while she is helping Rain's kid come to terms with her bullying. And there's this really
Yeah.
nice dynamic they have, and I was like, this is a great segue. She's being a great mum to a character that already has a kid. This is it. It's like
This is
the
how you do it. And it's
redemption.
and also I love. Can we also just not to go too far on this tangent, but how did Sarah Lance become one of the most interesting and dynamic characters in this universe? When she literally was like died in the first episode of Arrow.
Sarah Lance is interesting. I feel like she was created as someone that nobody knew what to do with, and then she became amazing. Like,
Yeah.
like they were just juggling her around in Arrow. They were like, I don't know what to do with her. She's this, she's that. You know, she used to date Nissa. Now she's in love with Ollie because everyone loves Ollie, apparently. Like,
Yeah.
there is not a woman on the show that doesn't love Ollie. So, like, they're juggling her around. And then as soon as they gave her her own show, it was like, we got it. We know what she is. We know the
It's
character.
like, why don't we just make her time traveling Indiana Jones who has sex with a lot of famous women? It's amazing.
She is. I've always said this. I've always said, dude, gender flip James Bond. I don't give a shit as long as she is still a complete like womanizer or mananizer, whatever. And I feel like Sarah Lance is that. She's female James Bond. Like she has all the all the charm and all the like kind of moral ambiguity of James Bond, where you're just like, is this okay? Are you allowed to do this? Like, she just goes through time stealing people's wives. Like,
Oh god, it's great. She's turning like 50s nurses gay, and like it's so good.
It is, but I always go, oh dude, that's awesome, you know, she's doing this and it's fun. But then I'm like, she just completely explodes these women's worlds and then leaves. Like, it's really not cool.
She is James Bond. It's probably the best thing I've. But yeah, CW has a really weird relationship with relationships. It is that like classic thing of when they don't know what to do with somebody, they just throw them together.
It is. It's weird.
And that's my like when a relationship in a story in turn takes you out of the story, then you're doing something wrong.
100%. I think that an example of that I want to talk about is it's weird because so I want to talk about a relationship that ultimately turned out to be a really interesting, cool what happened with it. But when it started, I really didn't like it, which was, I'm jumping all the way back to season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if you can remember that.
Wow.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I've been catching up recently because I really want to know if there's anything that leads on to Infinity War. I really want to know if there's anything that I need to know. People may call me crazy, but I would respond by saying there was a plot point in Age of Ultron that literally did not make any sense unless you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So you can make fun of me all you want. The carrier that comes out of nowhere with Nick Fury standing on it. At the end of Age of Ultron, there's just a helicarrier, a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier.
I just bought it.
Well,
I was just like, all right, cool.
There were people that were like, okay, cool. But if you remember, all the helicarriers blew up at the end of Winter Soldier because they're all Hydra and stuff. So it's like, wait, well, where did this one come from? And you don't understand it. It never explains it unless you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the whole season is about Coulson trying to get this helicarrier just in case they need it. And there's an episode where, right before Age of Ultron came up, there was an episode where he finally gets it. And he's like, right, I've got the helicarrier, we're ready. And then he gets a phone call and it's like, we need the helicarrier. And then you go into the cinema and you watch Age of Ultron and it finally makes sense. But like,
so what's the relationship?
So the relationship is with Skye and Ward.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because I really didn't like the relationship. It felt forced. But what ultimately happened was very interesting. Because like Ward is like one of my favorite examples of like, oh my god, I didn't see that come in character, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they really set him up as the main character of that show.
And then it's like, oh, by the way, he's actually like a Hydra agent.
Yeah. Which was really cool. But then there's this... there's this continued like thing between the two of them, and already I didn't buy it at the start, but it just feels like an otherwise great story of this guy who really did seem like a part of the team turning against anyone. They keep playing out this, they kind of like each other, and I just don't buy it at all. Like, there is nothing in that relationship that, even when he's the good guy, that would make you think that he likes her, that she likes him, sorry. And it's just like this one black spot on one of my favourite seasons of any television show. Like, season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so good, so well done, and the twist you don't see coming. But I just wanted to mention it because I've been watching it recently and it sprung to mind as like, oh yeah, I remember that was a thing.
This is going to be an interesting one.
Okay, shoot, hit me.
Because it's a movie that I love and a musical that I love, but the relationship's bad.
Okay.
That's kind of the point, you know?
Okay.
Where it's like, technically the story is great, and it's like, it's not like a badly done relationship, but the relationship is horrible, and that's the point.
Okay.
So it's The Last 5 Years.
Oh my god, you tweeted something, and I've been waiting to bring this up, dude.
So I love The Last 5 Years to death. It is quite possibly it's one of my favorite musicals. And it also does an amazing thing with the form, and also with just the form of musical and all this stuff. I was one of those assholes who loves to compare things. I just love to do that. So when La La Land came out, I watched it, and I was like, Last 5 Years is better than La La Land.
Oh, God.
Because, and this is where I'm going to get into it a little bit, La La Land reprises its songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, musicals do that a lot.
Yes.
La La Land, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. The reprisals don't really recontextualize the songs in any way or any different than when you first heard them.
Okay.
I really don't think so. I'm sure there's an argument for it, but The Last 5 Years does it in such an interesting and such an amazing way, to where, so the movie jumps back and forth. Well, the musical. I love the movie. Anna Kendrick, Jeremy Jordan.
Yes.
So the whole idea of the story is that you're basically going through the last 5 years of this relationship, but you're not doing it in chronological order. So you begin at the breakup, then you jump to like their first night together, then you jump to a couple years later, a giant argument that's like 4 years down the road, and then you jump to like his first major success as a writer, and so it keeps on going back and forth between happy and sad scenes.
Well, I think the thing that you missed, that I think for those who haven't watched it, is that it switches between, there's a song by Anna Kendrick, and there's a song...
in perspective.
Yeah, there's a song by, who's the man again? The guy who plays Will?
Jeremy Jordan.
So there's Jeremy and Anna Kendrick, and it always goes in order. It goes Anna, Jeremy, Anna, Jeremy, Anna, Jeremy. One of them is going backwards through the relationship, the other one is going forwards.
Yeah.
So they're always heading in opposite directions, and neither of them sing in each other's songs until blank.
Yeah, which is literally like a giant thematic choice.
Yes.
Obviously, they're not on the same page, they're not going in the same direction, whatever, but it recontextualizes moments. Like, so you hear, Anna Kendrick during one of the big argument song, really, which really just, oh my God, that song just hits you.
Yeah.
But she says it's all about you and nothing but you.
Yes.
Miles and piles of you. That's the line, whatever. And then when you get to Jeremy's part, when the line first shows up in their relationship, it's this beautiful, song about how that's all he wants in the world is her and nothing but her. And it recontextualizes the line in a way that just wrecks you emotionally. And it does that with a bunch of lines in the song, with a bunch of the songs where it's just, it takes something happy and it turns it sad, takes something sad, turns it happy. And it's really just, it uses that, like the whole format of the musical is almost like an argument. The songs are almost like arguments to each other.
Yes.
Where a lot of times, like in arguments, like happy situations in your life or things that you thought were happy or good times can turn negative or something like that because of the situation, or just like things that you thought were positives about someone, like Jeremy Jordan's exuberance and his excitement and his wanting to chase after his dreams are seen as a positive in his songs.
Yeah,
but then when you get to her songs, you find out how they are how they negatively impacted the relationship, and it's just a dichotomy. It's just really good.
It is a fantastic movie. I 100% recommend everyone check it out. It clearly gets the John seal of approval, but I also love that movie. However, the reason I was laughing when you tweeted that, the reason I think I couldn't quite pin that is not because of it's awkward. I think that the last 5 years and La La Land both do amazing jobs at portraying.
La La Land's a good movie.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah. No, I know you're not bashing La La Land.
I'm just a contrarian asshole.
They both do amazing jobs of showing these toxic relationships, these relationships that would never work out, but also showing that these people still love each other, and I think that is very hard to do accurately. It is quite a really cool thing when they can pull it off, and both musicals do it really well. The difference is, for me personally, I think that last 5 years is a far more, well, not maybe far more, but is a more intelligent, more thought out way of doing it. It's very, like you said, like those songs are genius. Like the way they turn the things on the head, the way the perspective changes, the way that the only moment in the movie where they're actually in sync is right in the middle,
Yeah.
Like that moment in the middle where the storylines meet up just for a fleeting second. They meet up and then all of a sudden they're gone again and they're out of sync again. Like you think that that's going to be the end of the movie. It keeps building up to the middle. But when you get there, it just misses each other again, and you go, "Oh fuck, man! I thought we were going to get there," But I think that movie's very well done. However, here is the big thing for me personally, and this isn't a filmmaking thing. I don't think I could say either is a better film. Just personally, the reason I didn't feel better or worse for either of the people in La La Land. I didn't feel like in La La Land there was a character that deserved more or deserved less. You know what I'm saying? I think in La La Land they both made mistakes. They both did good things and made bad choices. Whereas the song that really kills it for me is when he's singing about all the women he could have. It just is very
It's
tough.
fine, it's fine, it's fine. I mean, I'm happy.
Oh, no. It is really good. This is not a slant on the... It is a fantastic song that really shows you how he feels, but it's just... It makes me so angry.
And I think one of the things is that they're two very different relationships.
Yes.
In that, as much, and this is something I think the last 5 years does really well, when the songs are happy, you want them to work it out.
Yes.
You want, there's a part of you that's like, oh, but look at that, they're so cute, look at that. But then when it goes into the negative, it's like, oh, you realize like, yeah, you just are not good for each other, because he is like, he's kind of a piece of shit.
Who is he good for though, John? That is my question.
He's not good for anyone. I think that's the difference in La La Land. Like, their only faults really are that they're both passionate about their dreams. Like, they're not necessarily a bad couple, I think.
No, yeah, I think in La La Land the point is that they love their dreams more than they love each other, and that's their downfall. Whereas I feel like in last 5 years, she loves him. And he doesn't love her as much as he loves his dream. And
exactly.
It is so hard because, again, this might just be biased, but Anna Kendrick is my girl. I love her so much. And seeing her upset, I'm just like, you can go fuck yourself.
Oh, that middle song is like, oh my God, it's rough. It is rough to get through. When he's just like, hey, oh wait, is that the song when they're on like, when he goes to visit her in Ohio?
I can't remember
Is that
if
the one
that's
in the
the middle
middle?
song. I
No,
remember.
because he doesn't sing in that song. Actually, no, that one is the one where, God, it hurts you because, like literally up like to the story, you've kind of gotten this idea of like, all right, like she's made some sacrifices for him, but eventually he'll like, he's gonna make it better, right? And then you get to that song where he literally just says, no. Well, he doesn't even say anything. That's the worst part. But she's just like, oh, so I'm working all this time for my acting career, and you're not even gonna watch my show on my birthday. You're gonna leave me alone. And it's like, oh my God, like, oh, that's rough.
It is. It's just. It was really hard for me watching that movie. It didn't affect my enjoyment of the movie. I really liked the movie. Maybe it did affect my enjoyment of the movie a little bit, but I think the movie is fantastic.
It is a rough movie
but
to watch.
It is hard because in La La Land, I watch it and I go, damn, these two characters, man, maybe in a different time, maybe in a different world. But I watched Last 5 Years and I go, Anna Kendrick, you need to leave. You need to leave 5 years ago. You need to.
Yeah.
You can't be in this. Like finding out through the title that she's in the relationship for 5 years was just the saddest thing for me because I'm like, oh man, like, and she is that character when she leaves the letter.
Oh my God.
It is just it's hard. It's really hard to watch, and I don't think the reasons that it's hard to watch La La Land aren't anything to do with the characters. It's more to do with the concept of love and what could have been. There's no what could have been in Last 5 years. It's what should have been 4 years ago.
Well, and the interesting thing is like context is so important.
Yeah.
Because out of context, one story is a really beautiful story about these people who just kind of like who find each other at the right point in their lives and find what they're looking for. But then the other story is the destruction of this beautiful thing because of selfishness and it's great. But that's a relationship that is doomed from the start. The beginning is they're done. They're over. Like literally the first words are Jamie is over, Jamie is done. And it's just like it's a doomed relationship, but it's so wonderfully done. But it's a bad relationship, but that's the point. So it's like not bad because of the quality, but just like they're bad for each other.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. I think that the Last 5 years really had a weird effect on me because I almost watched it in response to that tweet. Because I really I didn't gel with La La Land the first time I watched it. I liked it, but I was like, I don't know. And then I watched it a second time, and it really hit me. And I was like, wow, dude, I'm on the La La Land train. And then I showed everyone, and I did that thing where I had to be in the room while they watched it. I was like, I want to see a reaction to it. But then I saw you tweet, and you were like, Last 5 years better than La La Land. So I was like, okay, I'm on board. It's on Amazon. We watched it, and I was just like blown away by how, similar but also not similar those movies are.
Exactly.
Like there are similarities, but they're very different as well.
I watched the Last 5 years before La La Land. Obviously because I think it came out before La La Land also. And it's one of those things where it's like I saw the similar plots.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it's just basically the same thing. It's done in a completely different manner. And also but that was also when I first saw it. Looking back at it, I understand that they were doing different things. They just happened, and also musicals also happen to have similar themes and ideas of loss and dreams and stuff. Just a lot of popular musicals do that. So
plus I feel like again you're always going to get these movies that deal with similar themes and stuff, but do it in different ways. I just kind of want to keep going. I don't know how, if we can. There's a lot of good relationships.
It's just it'd be listening a lot more. But top line, if someone was like, "Hey, man, I'm just trying to write this relationship," what are like the key things? Like, what is the most important thing in your mind?
I feel like
what makes a good fictional romance, not like a good real life romance.
I feel like you're tricking me into giving you actual advice.
Sir, good sir, how dare you?
Because I know
that is the one thing I can do.
I know for a fact that you are someone who is writing a relationship right now.
That's why I don't want to. I'm asking you
Okay.
because I don't want to seem like the jerk who's like, look at me. I know. Have all the answers because I don't.
No, neither do I, but I have perspectives. When I've written one thing that was really relationship heavy. I've written one film and made it and everything, and it's probably the best thing I've done to this date. But it's again, it's not exactly about a great relationship that worked out, but it's also not about a relationship that didn't work out because spoilers for my film, you don't know in the end. It's all I go all Inception, I like to say, because you don't know whether or not they work out. But what I kind of the best advice that was given to me was by one of my lecturers, Chris, who is one of the biggest inspirations on me as a creator. He has given me some of the best advice ever. And one of the versions of my script, because my script went through a bunch of versions, and he said to me, like, you keep having these characters talk to each other about how they're feeling. And I was like, yeah, because like that's how I'm in a relationship. When I'm in a relationship, I'm always talking about how I'm feeling. I'm always keeping Jen updated. I'm always like, this is where I am right now. I'm having a good day. I'm having a bad day. This is the problems I have with what's going on, whether it be in our relationship or whether it be something external that's affecting our relationship. And he's like, yeah, but does she do that back? And is that always well received? And I go, oh, well, I guess not. And he's like, yeah, because relationships, there's never this equal thing. As much as perfect as a relationship can be, you're never 100% on equal ground. You know what I'm saying? Like there are moments, I think, where you get to that point, but the way that you both approach problems is always going to be different. So you can't have two characters, no matter how in love they are, be logically discussing the issues of their relationship in a very calm and collected manner, because that's not how things work, and B, not interesting at all. Like it's just, hey, I'm concerned about this. Oh well, let's address that then. Like I would love it if that was the case, but it's just not. That wouldn't be passionate. It wouldn't be love. It would be just the two clones dating each other, you know. So in my film, I really made an effort, and I think it worked out for the best. To really use silence, because in a relationship, silence is almost deadly. It kills. It hurts. Silence, but it's we can't act like it doesn't exist, you know, and we can't act like in fiction that it doesn't exist, because that's denying what it's really like to be in a relationship. So I really try to think about who each character is, why they're in the relationship, and what would cause them to not say anything. You know, what would cause them to not say anything. And it's a kind of an abstract piece of advice, but some of my favorite relationships in fiction did this, and do this really well. There's a film I love, I absolutely adore, called Stuck in Love. It's one of my favorite films of all time.
Is that?
It's about writers. Do you know this film?
I feel like it. Who's it? Do you remember who's in it?
Greg Kinnear, the kid who plays Light in the American Death Note.
I feel like I saw this one.
It's really.
I feel like it was like years ago.
It came out in like 2012, so it's quite old.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so Stuck in Love, great movie. It is about relationships. Every single character in the movie is in some form of relationship. There are these two characters. There's a girl who just has meaningless sex because she had an experience when she was a child, I don't want to spoil what it is, that really made her think that love just does not exist. It fucked her up, and it made her think that love just is not a thing that is actually feasible. It is a story that we tell ourselves. And she meets a guy who is the most loving, caring person of all time. And obviously there's this thing between them. She won't deny it. She keeps talking. And it's this really interesting dynamic of every time he gets close to her, she will talk her way out. She keeps talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And there's this moment where they're in the car. And they're sitting in the car. And they're talking about their favourite songs. And she goes, well, what's your favourite song? And he goes, well, my favourite song is this. It makes me feel really good, and it makes me, it reminds me of love. It reminds me of the love for my mother and the love for the friends I have. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll listen to it. So he puts it on, and he goes, close your eyes. And they both close their eyes. And it's the first time in the movie that she's really quiet, and she doesn't have anything to say. She doesn't have any quips. And then she just starts pouring with tears, and she's crying. And she just looks at him, and she's like, I'm scared. Because it's the first time that she's realizing that this wall that she's built up is falling apart, and she doesn't know what to do now that it's gone. And the impact of her being quiet for the first time in the film is like really, it hits you, and it goes, oh wow. So it's like this piece of advice that was given to me that it was it's not easy to do. Even when it's giving to you, I wasn't, when he's like, use silence, I wasn't like, okay, I'll use silence, I know how to do that. But if you think about it, and if you really look at your characters and go, why would they be talking right now? Why am I making them talk when they could just use a facial gesture or something, So that's what really gets me. Yeah. I kind of went on a rant there, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I really think most things ought to do. Yeah.
That's good. I like it.
Thanks.
I'll write that down on my notebook.
What advice would you give then? If a young filmmaker came up to you and said, I want to make a film about two people falling in love, what are some of the pitfalls?
I would hope no one's asking me about movies, since the closest thing to a movie I shot is a 40 seconds before a YouTube review. So
I mean, there's also the amazing fucking wrestling promo that is
oh god,
fantastic. All in one
I
take.
rewatched that and I was like, oh no, it's not good. It's not good. It's one of those things where I think you can tell like, oh, you're like mentally holding back. You're not going like full 100%.
I've seen things like that before.
Yeah. So but my advice, it's the most John advice in the world.
Okay.
Especially if you know my writing or anything, give your characters a break. Whether that's between like world-ending, like whatever you're writing, world-ending events, or if it's just a relationship drama, like in between arguments. Like there's this thing. God, I'm gonna sound like such a prick. It's called like Man.
Okay.
How it's described to me is it's like, like you clap twice, say.
Okay.
And it's the moment of silence in between the two claps, the inaction.
I see.
And that's what like that feeling is. And it's like, it's kind of like using silence, as you said, but using like quiet and using like just like a nice walk or just something that I think like anime does really well. I mean, Your Name does it amazingly.
Okay.
Where like the characters are just like braiding cords.
All right.
For 5-10 seconds, they're just like doing eating or cooking food, which I think is one of my favorite uses of it, cooking food. And it's just like things don't feel real if there's constant conflict, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Certain things can be with it, but even two people who are in a whirlwind of passion and conflict, whatever, there is going to be a moment of like, whether it's silence or a moment of just like real connection that I think is only found through like monotony.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up an example, and you're going to hate it. You're really going to hate it, and I apologize, but it is the only thing that is coming to my mind right now, and I do it. My favorite scene in John's comic book. I know, but it's just the only thing is in my head. I was trying to think of an example that you'd hate less, but I'm gonna have to bring it up. Is a character goes to the supermarket, and you open a comic book about superheroes with a guy in a supermarket, and it's great. I just love the whole, because it's not just like the idea of just him, being in the supermarket and going to the supermarket. That's funny that a superhero would have to do that. But it's the experiences he has, and like you said, the monotony of just like a character just being in the supermarket, picking up something for his girlfriend, and like it's been a while since I read it. Doesn't he look at a dog, or he looks at something, doesn't he?
So there's like, if I remember correctly, like in the line, there's like an old woman who can't find her card or her whatever.
Yeah,
And it's holding up the line, and there's like a dog outside. Yeah, and then he
yeah,
like sees the dog
yeah.
outside.
And it's just this really relatable moment where he's just waiting in line, and you use panels, which are valuable currency. You use panels to show Edward standing in line, but it creates this really fun because it's a precursor to the rest of the comic, which is basically an attempted abduction of this guy's girlfriend. But because you had that preface at the beginning, everything else is like, dude, this is a real guy. This is a dude who exists in my mind now because you just saw him go to the supermarket. So I actually care about what's happening, And I think that you are right. That is something that is really not used enough, and it's not. It's people are always like go go go. It's always show action, show
Yeah.
action, show action. But to have those moments of monotony, those moments of, like you just said, like taking a break, I do think they're important. I haven't actually thought about it really before. I appreciate them when they happen, but I haven't thought about them individually and kind of how they work. Um,
I think that's why, like, not to get back on Marvel, on the Marvel movies, but I really like the scenes that stand out to me in the Marvel films are like Age of Ultron, where they're at the party,
yeah,
where they are all just talking to each other and messing around with Thor's hammer, and it's like, it's just such a great scene of like these characters feel fully realized because I see them in something other than the plot. Like it's part of the story, yes, but it's not important. You could take that scene out and
yeah,
the movie would work just fine. But it makes these characters feel real because you're seeing them in real settings and like ordering a drink or like, what they wear outside of their costumes, which is also tells something about their character.
so much. So the individual civilian versions of each of those characters is so good. The costume design is so well done because you look at them and you go, yeah, that makes sense. Like Thor
Yeah.
with his red velvet suit without the tie
Yes.
because he's too good for
Oh,
ties, and like Steve has got his button up, and like it's just so good. Another example.
Banner still looks disheveled even though he's in like a button up.
Another great example of that, like what you're saying, is theme park episodes, water park episodes, beach episodes of animes. Like they're always good. I don't care who you are, even if you disagree with me. I know that secretly you agree with me. They're
Yeah.
always good. If you're watching an anime that you enjoy and there is a beach episode, I guarantee in the back of your brain you're excited because they're always
Yeah.
nice because they take these characters who have been developing and been going and like moving forward and just give them a second to just go, like what would they do if they had a day off? Yeah, definitely some of them turn dramatic. I know there are beach episodes where you watch and you go, this is going to be fun, and then it's the darkest episode of the whole
Yeah.
anime. But the idea of seeing characters outside of their element and in a comfort level, it's just
One of my
great.
favorite types of scenes is like the scene before the finale,
Mm.
where they're all just like whether they're sitting down at a table or they're like partying or drinking or like Lord of the Rings style around a campfire. That moment of like, all right, well tomorrow's like we're going into the big action and so what do we do with our last moments? Because those not to get those moments are all we have.
Oh,
Do do
nice.
do.
You've seen Avatar,
Yes.
what was it called in America? The Last Airbender?
Yeah, the last Airbender.
Yeah. The there's a scene like that in season 3 where just before the whole the Fire Lord kicks off and everything goes to shit. There's a scene where they're just on a beach training, and it's just
Yeah.
Zuko is training Aang as to how to use fire, and there's this really chill idea. The episode's just real chill, and then Aang goes off and talks to a turtle while the
Yeah.
rest of them are chilling, and it's just really cool. And it cuts between that, I think, and I think you cut between that and like the evil version of them chilling.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I'm confused.
No.
There is a bit where Zuko rejoins his sister and they go
Yeah,
on
the beach
to like
episode, right?
they go to like a party.
They play volleyball.
It's so good, dude. It's so, and they have a real talk moment, which is something that everyone has with their friends. But it's like the villains having real talk, and like Zuko, is it Zuko? Or someone talks about how they're only doing it because they're tortured by the idea of their parents, and they're like, and it's like real deep, and everyone's just like stunned. So good, so good. Such a good series.
It's like there's this meme of like kids on their way to a school trip, and it's like, yeah, we're so excited, and then kids on the way back, and it's like, I don't think I'm ever gonna find love.
Oh god, yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm glad with this. I'm glad we got here because I feel like I began the episode so shambles and crazy, and they talked about fucking Lemony Snickets for ages. But I think we got to a good place.
This episode is like we get on one topic and then we talk about it for an hour, but it's all of like different little things. It's like we talked about the Flash for a long time.
Yeah.
We talked about Lemony Snicket for a long time.
I think this episode's going to be
5 years.
infamous. I feel like it's going to be. There's good things in it, but I feel like it's the least like through line we've ever had.
It's funny because we were just getting to a point where we were getting really good with our transitions.
Yeah, 100%.
And we were knowing when to end certain conversations. And I feel like we just got back to rambling.
Here's my explanation, right? I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's an explanation. I still think that there is blame. No, I'm joking. No, I think that we're so used to do these podcasts spaced out. You know what I'm saying? That like it's like we jump in and we talk and we're like, I'm talking to you for ages, so we're really getting through it and stuff and like enjoying it. Whereas like I feel like we just did a podcast, didn't we?
We did. Well, I think this is one of those what normal podcasters do.
Yeah.
Which they do it on like a weekly, bi-weekly thing. But then that was the thing is I was like, I haven't really done anything. I think we podcasted 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Like I went to work.
Like my current fave would probably still be the same as it was.
If we didn't bring up series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. And like I feel like we've been hitting it hard with the videos as well. Like we've been really trying to make those something else and something special. So
I've also figured out a couple of guest appearances. Special podcasts I think we should do.
Yes. I think that's going to make it more interesting as well. I think that it'll... Because honestly, like, I do love the podcast. I do really like the podcast. But I found myself being like, talking about things and being like, shit, I would have made a video on that. Like...
The other thing is I was like, I made a video on your name and I'm like, oh, well, what's my current fave now?
Yeah, exactly.
But I need to get Jack Morris on here to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
We do a long-form Kingdom Hearts show.
100%.
The My Hero Academia show
with Jack Thomas.
Yeah. That's all I've got so far.
I think there's a lot of potential, but like I'm really enjoying the videos.
I'm loving it.
I don't think there's anyone listening to this who doesn't watch the videos as well, but like I think that it's cool. I mentioned to you in a private message that like you've started like editing and thinking about like how you're going to shoot things and edit them and put them into the video and how they're going to add to the video. And I was just like, man, dude, I've just been coasting on the idea that I can edit and you can't, but now I'm like, shit. I gotta stop putting thought.
Well, also my editing is like smash cut. All right, here's this smash cut. Here's this. Because my software won't really let me do anything more intricate than that.
What are you using a phone? Do you film on your phone? Yeah.
That's the thing is I film on my phone, which has a really great camera, which is nice.
It does, and I think that editing on a phone is completely viable. Like I shot that video of me and Jack Thomas talking about My Hero on a phone, and then I ended up editing it on my PC, but that was just because it was so long that I just didn't want to go through the tiny screen scrolling. But like I have iMovie on my phone, and it does the job. If you've got a shot in a video, like it's really, really good. But yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do. I'm excited to see how extreme we can get with these videos. And I like
the idea of maybe doing the videos as like, all right, here are my like basic thoughts on something, and then we can go into more detail if we want. in the long form.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that I still want to do like videos that are maybe just, I don't want to say lazy, but yeah, like lazy videos. I still don't want to have like I'm not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
like, so like there might be a video like My Hero where I film it in the car and it's just my thoughts and I cut some things, but it's just the majority of it is just off the cuff. But
Oh
I
yeah.
do
If you
want
think
to
every
also
video is going to be the your name video, then you're sadly
yeah,
mistaken. That
but
I just had so much inspiration watching that movie
yeah,
that I was like, I got to
100%.
do something special for it.
But I also want to branch out and I want to start making videos that aren't exactly like aren't always reviews. Like
Yeah.
I like the topics that we've done so far, and I like the idea of me going through My Hero and kind of like updating you every time I watch another 4 episodes. But I also want to see what else we can kind of do with this channel, and maybe what fun things we can do that aren't exactly like geek related, or
Yeah.
maybe they are geek related. Like I mentioned about doing a video essay, I was going to try and maybe do something like that where I script something, and like this was not Wi-Fi Friends, but I really enjoy it and I want to plug it just in case anyone is still listening after the rambliest podcast ever, which is like I saw you uploaded for this unfinished poem, and
Yeah.
you posted the picture of it, which is like one thing, but then you did you dusted off your acting chops and you did a kind of a monologue version of it, a spoken word version of it. And I was like, dude, I want Wi-Fi Friends to be a place where it can accommodate all those things, I want
Yeah.
it to be kind of a multi-genre thing, but we'll see. We'll
We're
see how
very
it goes.
multifaceted people, and I think doing something that fully shows our wide breadth
Yeah,
of
and
interests and
what's cool is that we would always be like, we want a reason to make videos because we would be terrible at making videos. And after a while, we solved that problem, and we now have figured out a way to inspire each other to make videos. I think the next step now is inspiring each other to create other things, and we can
yeah,
maybe do
because
that with
this is
Wi-Fi
our
Friends.
comfort zone. Yapping at each other and talking about like movies and comics and stuff. That's our comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if we can turn Wi-Fi Friends into a thing that inspires not just us, but like other people, like our friends, like you mentioned, Jack Thomas, like he's into Wi-Fi Friends. Kind of.
Which also, not to get onto a sidetrack, but I watched the most recent Legend of Korra,
Did you?
and I did not know the context of your text at first. Which I need to give you a clarification.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily go to the shop.
All right.
Shop is more of a verb. So you go shopping, or like I'm gonna go shop at a store.
I see. Okay.
However, not to get too complicated, but sometimes like a mechanic shop is also a phrase. Though, like I took my car to the shop,
Oh yes. I've heard that.
but that
before.
is only usually for like
like a,
stuff like that, like mechanics or building
like a
or stuff
chop
like
shop.
that.
Is
Like a
thing.
chop shop,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Well, have you watched the most recent episode, or have you watched? Was that is because there's a long one, like a 22-minute one, and that's where we message you.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Okay.
Is there another one now?
Today, another one went out at about 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I've not been on.
No, it's
the
cool,
internet.
dude. It's the weirdest episode. I love Legend of Korra.
Which my wife loved the last one because she's just like, she's like, I just love Jack Thomas so much. And I was like, he's a sweet boy. He is such a sweet boy.
He is a sweet boy. I love how, for some reason, I don't know what it is about Legend of Korra, the video game, but it really does get him to talk about the deeper stuff. Like, he just brings
And
up...
I'm pretty sure you did not get past that section. You just kept on in the episode I watched. You literally did not get past the first section you started.
Here's a little bit of a spoiler, okay? So we played... We recorded for 4 episodes this most recent session. The first was when we messaged you. You can usually tell because we'll start on the home screen when it's a new session. The second episode that we recorded was the one that went out today. That is a 3-minute long video. We do not beat the mission in that video. Then we recorded a third episode where Jack Thomas was playing. as reasonably length. It's about 17 minutes long. We do not complete the mission in that one. And then we recorded a fourth episode that's about 22 minutes long, and we still don't complete the mission. So it's you're in for the long haul. We still
Oh,
haven't
my
beaten
favorite
the
thing is I told Christina, I was like, so they have this channel where they randomly do videos and they just play the same game over and over and over again. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, they just play Legend of Korra and talk about whatever.
It's the best.
Great.
I am on a mission to have a project with every single one of my friends that complements our friendship. Obviously, Wi-Fi Friends is that for you. Legend of Korra works so much for me and Jack because we are inconsistent people. We are deep talkers. Like, we always talk about the deepest stuff as possible, and we love stupid jokes. So, like, Legend of Korra was the perfect combination of that. Like, I'm working on something with Reese Peak, and if you are a patron of Rotoscope Media, which I know you are, John, you get a couple of.
I
Reese
still
Peak.
haven't got my thank you video.
Oh yes, we were supposed to film that the way I did, but we'll get to it. But if you're a patron of Rotoscope Media, you know me and Reese have a project called Carpool Crowd, but we're working on something else that is like outside of Rotoscope. And it's funny how different it is, because with Jack Thomas, it's very raw and we just sit down randomly. Whereas Reese and I, we filmed something ages ago and it's still being edited, because Reese and I are filmmakers, so we want it to be perfect and we want it to be great. And it's funny the differences that you get. And like, I think that, like, I mean, Arcade Crowd is kind of what I do with Jack Morris, and I just love creating things with people, you know? It's just amazing and I love it. And I recommend it to anyone who is a creative person that has creative friends. Like Jenny and I, we keep trying to figure out what it is we can do together. But Jenny is a very solitary writer. She's the opposite to me. Like, she will come to me for advice, but then she'll go back into her cave and continue writing. And she's fantastic, but it's kind of hard to I mean, she's such a good poet. I'm such a fan of her as a poet, and
she doesn't even know it.
oh, fucking hell. So I feel like every time she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you with this dumb script," I'm like, "No, go do more poetry. I like your poetry." But yeah, maybe that's what I can do. That's how I can join it all together. I'll get you to do dramatic readings of Jen's poems.
Yes. It'll be perfect.
All right, I ended up really enjoying this one. I'm sorry I came with it such low energy, but I feel like we got to a good place eventually.
We built it back up, you know. And also, I just want to say, high note for us: 7 episodes.
Oh my
7.
God.
And we've been posting regular videos. My Google Home, for some reason, thought I said, "Okay, Google," at some point, so it just went off. I did not say those words. Stop it. Please stop talking. God, I'm gonna die. But yeah, I think we're doing pretty good.
Fantastic.
Before it goes all off the rails.
I'm liking it, and I'm trying to think of videos to post now, and trying to make this. I'll tell you what it is as well. And I mean, we're already in too far. We may as well get a little bit further. I think after meeting each other, there's this sense that I get particularly that it's like, I mean, now it's like that idea of you've gotten the closest you can be, you know? We literally talked in person for hours. We hung out. We had a really good time, not just at the wedding, but we had meals together, and you hung out at my house. And now it's like
I slept at your house.
You literally slept in my bed. Which, by the way, a little quick Airbnb review for my bedroom.
Let's see. The ambiance is very nice.
I was funny story. I think we should just tell it now. I invited John to stay over my house. Well, I didn't even invite him first. It was all my family that was invited him first. But I was like, yeah, dude, come on, let's stay over. So Jen and I were like, we'll make sure the bedroom's nice and clean for them to come over. the only clean sheets we had left, because we'd been so busy with all the wedding stuff, we hadn't done any of the sheets cleaning, were my Justice League sheets. So literally John was like, oh, Cameron and I are into comics, he's cool, he likes comics, and I'm like, I love comics. Like, I literally made him and his wife sleep in a bed with Batman and Superman's face on it.
It was great.
It was so fun, and I was so excited. I was like, he's gonna look at my posters, and he's gonna be like, "Wow, those are cool posters." And I've got this awesome, huge poster on the wall that is like this big quote, where it's like, "Nobody expects you to save the world. All you have to do is just do your best." Which I love. I love that poster, and it's the thing that me and Jen picked together, because our bedroom's kind of divided into Jenny and Cameron, which is Star Wars and Harry Potter.
Yeah, I know. We noticed that.
But like, I was like, oh, he's gonna love it. It's gonna be great. And then I had to put the fucking Justice League sheets on, and I was like, oh, god damn it.
You looked very adult and very professional, and then the 8-year-old Justice League sheets.
I love them though. I don't regret them. I had those sheets for a long time, and I'm gonna keep them until my adulthood, which is not gonna come anytime soon, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have this feeling now where I'm just like, I want to keep making videos. I want to keep communicating in a more personal and more I don't know, interesting way. I don't know. That's all.
Yeah, and I've even felt that way with like Jack Thomas and Jack Morris and stuff, where I'm just like, you guys aren't just ideas.
Yeah, not just
I'm like,
voices.
there's this idea of this person over here that I like kind of like know, but not really. But now I have like stories, like personal stories between these people.
Yeah.
And like memories, and like we dance together, and like it's so. And my new favorite thing is Jack Morris randomly bringing me up in videos. It just warms my heart. He says, "That's John Jensig."
Yeah, I think it was
my new favorite thing.
It's good fun, and like John, Jack Thomas, or JT as we lovingly call him. He keeps saying this now. I think he said it across 3 different videos now, where he's like, I feel like I've known John forever. Like and he means it. Like, he seriously means it. He's not doing it as a bit. He's like, what's John up to now? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm sitting here with you.
We're friends on Snapchat now.
Oh, it's the best. Jack Thomas's Snapchats are the best. They're fantastic. You use Story. Like, I don't know anyone who uses Story as much as you. I really appreciate it, because it can kind of.
I wonder if that's just an American thing, because everyone here uses Story.
Maybe. I don't know.
A lot of times you'll get snaps that are just people's stories. Like, they'll just send it to their story and to you. And it's just like, they were just going down the list of people, just like, oh, I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, we're like in part of a big group of our friends, who we're all part of this Snapchat group. And we usually all just send our snaps to this group. I don't really snap outside of it, because it's like this thing, like all my Snapchats of me doing something dumb or saying something dumb, and I don't really think like my friends from school that haven't seen me for years would appreciate that. So I never.
Mine are just. Mine are just. I don't want to be at work.
But now I've gotten this habit now where I always. So it's too long to explain. We're called the Bays. That's our group. So I'll film a snap, and then it'll go through, and it's like, who would you like to send a snap to? And I'm like, send it to the Bays, and also send it to John. So it's like this huge group gets it, and then you get it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I think that was a good one. I think we kicked it out of the park.
So I've got a new outro, since we're so bad at outros.
Oh, we're terrible at outros. Hit me.
Yeah, I got a new outro to test out.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, boy, what's up? It's your boys, the Wi-Fi friends, kicking it back, relaxing, hanging out, talking about that stuff, hanging and banging. You know how it is. We just wanted to let you know, peace on earth, goodwill towards men. I've seen things, across like the Mars and tears in the rain, bro, and yeah, wiggity wiggity whack. Have a good night.